Hello, hello. Oh, gotta get my mic in the right place. Hello, 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 my friends. My name is Jill Osborne. I am the president and founder of the interstitial system. Oh my God, wait a second. I might not have set this up in the right place. Oh, hold on. I got to cancel Facebook for a moment. Crap. Oh, wait. Crap, crap, crap. I did. Hold on. Ah, the joys of life technology. Facebook is being so freaking weird. No, 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 no. Christopher Robin and I walked. I will entertain you with singing while I get my act together with this stream. Christopher Robin and I walked alone, under branches lit up by the moon. Hold on. Support group meeting. Got questions? We are here to help. I am here to help. Yada, yada, yada. I am here to. All right. Let's see if it works this time, my friends. Live IC and pelvic pain support group meeting. All right. Hold on. Hey, man, I can type fast, can't I? Hello, hello, hello. My name is Jill Osborne. I am the president and founder of the Interstitial Cystitis Network. It is Sunday, March 29th. Thank you, Joan. Hello, Joan. Hi, Iris. Sorry about that, hon. Facebook was making all these weird changes with their platform, and I set it up in the wrong place, and I had to reset it. So, anyways, sorry, guys. But you know what? It is what it is. We're not perfect. So let's see what happens with Facebook this time. Because I like to simulcast on Facebook and YouTube. Hello, Sherry. Nice to see you. Oh, Iris, you're very, very welcome. I love my job, and you guys are giving me a reason to keep doing my job. Right? Right. Okay. Let's see. I'm live, so if you want people to see you naked, do you need something? You sure? My mother just walked in naked. Oh, holy hell. Hello, Karen. It's nice to see you. Waving down to the Bay Area. Hello, Libby. Hi, Danielle. Hi, Cher. Well, you know what? I'm telling you, I feel a little bit better today. I read something really good this morning. As when I get up in the morning, I always have my iPad near my bed, which is probably a mistake. And somebody really approached this whole quarantine in a very, very different way. And they said instead of feeling like you're um, isolated, think of yourself as being protected. And you know what? We are protected. Hello, Rocky. Nice to see you. Iris says I make her day. Yeah, okay. So we need to take bets. How many times am I going to screw up my chair, and am I going to fall? Right? We need to do that. We definitely need to do that because you never know. Hello, Trima. Hi, Katrina. Nice to see you. I had this epiphany. I had this kind of epiphany last night as I was working on our new flare management resource kit, and I just have to do the front. So I have a new flare management kit that is going to be in. It's going to have what do you call it when you put plastic over paper so you can reuse it all the time? So it's going to be like postcards in plastic that you can whip out whenever you have a flare, and it's going to walk you through your flare rescue plan, describe what flares feel like, et cetera, et cetera. But what I'm really excited about is I'm going to have flashcards with stretches, things that you can do when you're having a pelvic floor flare, right? So I'm really, really happy about these. So anyway, that's kind of one of the little things that I am working on. Now that I got my magazine done, I now have a month where I can breathe before I have to start writing the next magazine. And of course, we should be working on the new form of the IC diet, and we should be working on the new flare management guide, but it is what it is. You know what? I'm really trying to pace myself, and I'm hoping that you guys are doing the same, because this is a really weird time. This is a really stressful time. And anytime that we can just kind of pace ourselves and do what we need to do at the time is great. No major expectations here. Some people are going to love to work out. I don't have um, I don't have a treadmill or anything like that here, although I might order one because I'm feeling a little bit on the fat side because I have been eating cookies. Only 2 a day, but they're kind of big cookies, but they're really, really good. So I think as we go through this very odd and unusual period of time, you should have permission to put yourself first. It's okay to put yourself first. Do what you need to do to be comfortable and happy. Look out for the people around you, look out for the neighbors around you, any elderly. But I don't think anybody here is expecting you to be perfect. Nobody is expecting you to be um completely organized. Nobody is expecting you to be together. If you need to go find a quiet space and just be, do it. If you need to play your music, put your headset on. If you've got a headset so you don't mess with your family. My brother and I are really hysterical because my brother and I look like twins. We do. He's 8 years older than me, but we look like twins. But he is extremely nerdy. This is the guy who got a perfect score on the SAT. He's a physics professor, right? And yet we're amazingly different. He doesn't have really good, he's a nerdy guy. So the whole face-to-face communication thing is kind of hard for him. He's good teaching, but one-on-one, a little bit more of a different story where I'm a little bit better with the face-to-face stuff. But anyway, as we were growing up, whenever I would play my music, he would get really angry and turn it off. And it's like, dude, seriously, why are you turning my music? I mean, John Denver, whoever. He's like, you're doing it to torture me. Like, Jack. Now his name is Jack. I am Jill. We are both redheads. Do you get the sense of the humor my parents had when they named me? Because my dad is Jack. So having a Jack Osborne Sr. and a Jack Osborne Jr. makes sense. But naming your youngest redhead Jill, knowing we would grow up as Jack and Jill, come on now. Thank you, Jack and Helen Osborne, for doing that. Although I actually quite like it because I love my brother. There are moments when we have challenges, but I do love him. But anyway, what I'm saying here is with your earbuds, please use your earbuds. That way you're not torturing anybody else in the family. Because I swear, even as adults, if I'm playing music or if I have the wrong TV show on, he just freaks. He's like, you're torturing me. It's like, no, Jack, I am not torturing you. This is what I enjoy. But some people a little bit less, what can you say? No, they're not quite as tolerant as others. Hello, Gina. Gina says, do we have extra risk of getting coronavirus with IC? I'm from Holland. And the answer is no. No, you don't. There's no associated extra risk with IC patients in general are not immune deficient. And therefore, we do not have extra risk of something like coronavirus. The only context is if you are taking cyclosporin. And I know I've got one person in here right now who is taking cyclosporin. At least she was for a while. I don't know if you still are, and I won't say your name. If you are taking cyclosporin, you might be more at risk of any type of infection, but in general, there's no associated risk with immune deficiency and interstitial cystitis. Remember, we think of interstitial cystitis as more physical injury or trauma to the pelvis as we do a disease process. The only active disease process we see in IC is usually going to be Hunner's lesions, which we think are now viral infections. The ironic, but there are some viral infections, viruses that live in the human body that are meant to be in the human body. They've been in the human body for thousands of years. One is called the polyoma BK virus. And if that patient is immune compromised, they may end up with some viral infection in their bladder. Of course, there are also patients who might have chronic bacterial infection or chronic fungal infection. Ira says, "Oh my God, you should have been twins." I've always thought of us as twins, but we're really, really different. We're extremely different. I never got a perfect score on the SAT. I'm not as bookish as he is, and I'm much more social than he is. Hello, Barbara. It's nice to see you. I wish we'd had another brother. My parents said that they tried to have another brother. There's a 5-year difference between my sister and I, and it just didn't happen. And I really think if he'd had another brother, it would be different. You know what it's like. So, like, I care for my parents, right? And does my brother get it and help? No, no. He's clueless. He's clueless. He just doesn't get it. He doesn't get the concept of helping others. Laminate. Thank you. Yes, Katrina, laminated cards for our new flare management kit. That's what my intention is. Hello, Beth. Hi, Ruth. Hi, Karen. Hi, Jody. Libby says, I still wanted to speak to you. I had my last block. It was an SI block on February 28th. It was my fourth block within a 4-month period. My muscle, we suspect my sacroiliac muscle has atrophied all of a sudden 3 weeks later. I don't know what to do. My pudendal nerve pain skyrocketed into insanity. Now my primary doctor wants to put you on a pain patch. Needless to say, your pelvic floor is very bad now. Any advice? Gosh, I mean, the question is, why would your muscle have atrophied so suddenly? I don't understand what could have happened there, Libby. Um, I mean, girl, listen, you got to use your pain meds. If the doctor wants to give you a pain patch, I would use it right now because I mean, seriously, the key here that you got to understand is untreated pain has consequences. When you have untreated pain, it activates the entire nervous system, and then you can get allodynia. Then you can get nerves in the area also becoming sensitive, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's really, I always say the patients who suffer the most are the patients who wait until they're bawling their eyes out before they use their pain meds. And fighting pain is like fighting a fire. You catch it when it's small. If you've got a little fire in your wastebasket, you can throw a glass of water on it and bam, it's over. But if you let that fire spread and engulf your room and get your drapes and et cetera, it's going to take a ton more water to put that fire out. Fighting pain is exactly the same way. If you can catch the pain as early as possible with a little bit of pain medicine, then you're going to stop that cascade effect. And there is a cascade effect when you're in pain. Of course, the challenge here now is that a lot of people can't get pain medicine. And a lot of us, myself included, hoard our pain medicine. Hey man, I got no problem saying that. I have absolutely no problem saying that. Um, and so, um, let me tell you what I do. Number one, and now granted, a lot of you aren't going to be able to do that because you don't have access to pain meds. And I don't either. I don't have any new pain meds, but I still have some leftover pain meds. Okay, so this is what I do, and I've talked about this for years. And guys, you should know I chaired the State of California Pain Conference 15 years ago. I testified up in Sacramento about pain care, and this is what we know. Um, Research has proven that chronic pain patients rarely become addicts. And I want you to think about it in a different way. Why do we take pain medicine? We take pain medicine so that we can function, right? I take pain medicine maybe once every 2 months, a quarter of a pill. Maybe, okay? Why? Because I need to be able to work and I need to be able to do something. A chronic pain patient takes pain medicine so that they can function normally, whether it's go to work, whether it is go to church, shop, make a meal, whatever. An addict is somebody who takes pain medicine to escape their lives so that they don't have to address their responsibility. So, just from a mental standpoint alone, you have to understand that when you're asking for pain medicine, it's not to escape, it's not to get high. You're asking for pain medicine so that you can walk, so that you can function, so that you can do the things that you need to do, right? And that's long proven in research. Now, the other thing that we also understand about pain medicine is that pain left untreated has consequences. It has significant consequences. Not only do the proximal nerves start to get involved, then we start seeing allodynia, where the nerves become easier to turn on. But when you understand pain processing, you know that pain that is accompanied by tears and stress is amplified by the brain because your brain thinks, uh-oh, something bad is happening. It needs to protect you. Pain that is accompanied by laughter is minimized by the brain. That's a there's a three-stepped process to how the brain addresses pain. There's a lower gate, there's a mid gate, and then there's an upper gate. And it's the upper gate that establishes, let's see, no, it's a midbrain that establishes context. So again, if your pain is accompanied by tears, your midbrain's going to go, uh-oh, something bad is happening, and it's going to amplify that pain to get to protect your life, basically, because that then is sent to the upper brain, and then your upper brain then takes whatever action is needed to protect you. And again, pain that's accompanied by laughter is minimized. And there's a really good book I recommend to everybody. Let me get it. When It Hurts Down There by Dr. Angie Storr, who's a doctor in Texas. This is fabulous. And this talks all about the three-step process and gives you several different ways that you can interfere with pain. Okay. We have this on our website and it's extremely good. And anybody suffering with pain should consider buying this book so that you really understand the context. You got to understand, from top to bottom how it's processed so that you know what to do. And I can come back to this. So let me just tell you what I do when I'm in pain. Now, realize I had a terrible hysterectomy 3 years ago and had terrible pain for 10 months afterwards. So I speak the truth here. In fact, last night I did my internal glass wand because I could feel things tightening up. And I was just laying there, in my bed with my wand, you know what I'm doing, my internal massage. And I was going, and I was just like going, oh God, oh God. And I realized how tight my face was and I had to relax my face because I've got this scar tissue down there. It's crazy. All right. So there's a difference between mild pain and severe pain. And we can all handle that little bit of mild pain that it's like, okay, I feel it, but life goes on. As soon as I feel that intense pain, I stop what I'm doing. I grab a heating pad and I go lay down or go lay in the recliner. Put the heating pad over my belly, and I'm just going to give it 30 minutes. See what I can do to get it to relax. Okay. If 30 minutes later, that pain is that sharp nerve pain that especially I was dealing with after the hysterectomy, I gave myself permission to take 1/4 of a Norco because obviously I had post-op pains for that. I mean, post-op medication for that. 1/4 of a Norco. and I wait an hour because it takes an hour for the medication to really get into your bloodstream to be helpful. One of the mistakes that I see patients make and pelvic pain patients make is if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling terrible, you're just feeling terrible, the pain is really bad. And if you do have pain medicine, sometimes you'll take 2 instead of 1. But there's a flaw to that approach. You still have the same number of nerves. And if one pill or one half a pill will turn off the nerves in your spinal cord that are responsible for sending that pain to your brain, then there's no reason to take 2. You're wasting 1. And so what I have found for me is 1/4 of a Norco covers my nerves. Now that doesn't work for everybody. Everybody's built differently. For some of you, it might be half a pill. For some of you, it might be 1 pill, et cetera, et cetera. But it's about finding the right dose that works for you. So anyway, if an hour later I am in intense pain, I give myself permission to take 1/4 of my pain medicine. And if an hour later I'm still dealing with intense pain and I'm not feeling that it's fallen down a bit, I give myself permission to take a second quarter. And again, I wait an hour. And I will do that kind of hourly. My goal is to try to stay ahead of the pain. And I will tell you that 9 times out of 10, for what I was dealing with, that worked for me. Now, I've had some people say to me, "Jill, you make it sound like we're drug seekers if we're using more." And I'm not doing that at all. What I'm saying is it's about finding what works for you. Now, and remembering too that if you've got muscle pain, a spasming muscle, it's all about muscle relaxation. That pain medicine is not going to be nearly as effective as using a muscle relaxant, right? Right? Because if you got a muscle that's squeezing like this, hurting like hell, okay, yeah, you can take a pain medicine and it might cover that pain. But the problem is that my muscles are spasming in my hand because I'm squeezing it so hard. How do I get that to release? Oh, heat, a muscle relaxant. Remember, there are different types of flares. You can have a bladder wall flare from drinking coffee or from taking a multivitamin or drinking wine, or you can have a pelvic floor flare from having sex or being in a car for a long period of time. Or if you're under stress, as we all are right now, you might be subconsciously tightening your pelvic floor. We're going to treat those very, very differently. So if you're having a bladder wall flare, what are we going to do? We have to calm and soothe the bladder. How do we do that? Number one, you're going to hydrate. You're going to drink water to dilute your urine to make sure your urine's not irritating, especially if um, you've drunk something or eaten something that's irritating, et cetera, right? You might be doing something that will numb your bladder wall, like an azo bladder pain relief tablet, pyridium, the stuff that turns your urine orange. You will certainly be doing a heating pad because we want to nip any muscle tension in the bud. If for some of you with more intense bladder wall issues, you might already be doing home bladder installations, which is fine. If that's the time to do it when you're starting to have a flare, and et cetera, et cetera. There are just a series of things we're going to do for a bladder wall flare. Whereas for a pelvic floor flare from you having sex or intimacy, we're going to approach it very, very differently. First thing you're going to do is maybe take a hot shower. Let's get all those muscles to relax. Number two, you're going to use a heating pad. Throw your heating pad over your lower belly. See if that'll help your muscles relax. Number three, muscle relaxant. If you have a muscle relaxant like baclofen or Flexeril or Valium, or if you've got Valium vaginal suppositories, then that's what we're going to do for pelvic floor. Then you're going to do some stretches, and our new flare management kit is going to give you some things that you will be able to do, some positions that you will be able to do to try to get your muscles in their proper position to be nice and relaxed and pliant and useful, right? I guess I should introduce myself. For anybody who's new, my name is Jill Osborne. I'm the president and founder of the Interstitial Cystitis Network. I'm the longest serving IC support group leader in the United States. I've been a support group leader now since 1993. September of 1993 was when I started my first support group from my bed because I had just had exploratory surgery. And fast forward how many years? 27 years. here we are. Who knew? I was 33 when it started. I'll be 60 this year. How the hell did that happen? I don't know. My purpose in doing these meetings is to make you strong, so knowledgeable, so informed that no one can mess with you again. I want to give you immediately useful information that hopefully you will be able to use. Obviously, I am not a doctor. I do not give medical advice. My job is to educate you, to empower you, and then to kick you in the butt and get you moving again. As a support group leader, one of the things that I learned is that I would have patients call every day. And I would invested a lot of time with them. I mean, anybody who's called, if you've ever talked to me and called me, I spend a lot of time with patients, and I don't charge. I mean, it's 95% of what we do from a patient standpoint is entirely free. There's nothing, and I mean, it's just I'm a support group leader. That's why I was put on this earth, I think. But I learned that there were some people who would call and ask this question over and over and over again. It's like, but what about the diet? What am I supposed to eat? Now I would spend 30 minutes, 45 minutes with them going through the diet in depth. And then they would call me back a month later and they would say, what about the diet? And it's like, honey, I spent an hour with you a month ago. Don't you remember that? And she goes, yeah. And I said, well, we went through all this. Don't you remember that? And she's like, no, not really. And that taught me that, I mean, this is going to sound weird, but there's less value in somebody giving you everything. We minimize it. If it's free, you minimize it. Um, and so what I started doing instead is saying, and I realized too that some patients are remarkably passive, and they need to learn how to be active, and that's okay. And so my job is also to kind of kick them in the butt and get them moving again. So generally what I do is I try to give you 50%, 60%, 70% of the information, but then I give you a kick in the butt and say, okay, this is where you need to go to get the rest of it, because I need you involved. Nobody can tell you when you need to pee. You are the only person that can tell you when you need to pee, right? Your ability to talk with your doctor, your ability to track symptoms, your ability to try therapies, your knowledge of your body is everything. It's everything here. So, anyway, getting back to the pain issue, um, to understand, you are an anatomical mystery to be solved. Pain can come from multiple places. It can come from the bladder wall. It can come from the pelvic floor. It can also come from nerves that are damaged. And as Libby was saying, she has had, I think, Libby, you're a little bit unclear. You said you had an SI block. So you either had a steroid injection into your SI joint or you had a nerve block. But there are some people who have pudendal neuralgia, nerve issues. And in their case, they're going to be doing things that will calm and soothe nerves down, like using cold. If you prefer cold rather than the heat, that kind of tells me that your nerves are probably involved to a certain degree. And again, seriously, y'all better have this. If you don't have it, for God's sake, what are you waiting for? You got to get this book, because it is the best discussion of muscle stuff combined with nerve stuff. If you've got nerve issues going on, the chapter on the nerves and pudendal neuralgia and how he treats pudendal neuralgia and how he assesses for pudendal neuralgia is absolutely groundbreaking. Fabulous book. I have not eaten breakfast. I am fasting today until later. Unless I start shaking, and then I will go and get a snack while we're doing this. I don't think so, because I ate well last night. Made scalloped potatoes. They sucked. My last batch of scalloped potatoes was really good. This batch of scalloped potatoes was terrible. So they're making potato soup with it. All right, let's go to some of your questions. So normally when I do these support group meetings, I do 30 minutes of kind of an educational lecture, and then I do an hour or 2 of taking your questions, and then we do a giveaway. I don't have a prepared lecture so much. That's just off, you know, today. I don't. All right, so let's just do questions. So anyway, Libby, getting back to you. Libby says she had her SI block on February 28th. It was my 4th block within a 4-month period. My muscle, we suspect, use the there's no such thing as the sacroiliac muscle. It's probably your piriformis muscle or your obturator muscle. So that's what holds your SI joint together. My muscle, we suspect, has atrophied all of a sudden 3 weeks later. I don't know what to do. I think you're gonna have to talk to the physical therapist about it. I mean, I don't understand what could have happened, and Libby, you need to ask them which muscle it is. Is it your piriformis? Is it an obturator? Is it your obturator or adductor? Whichever one, and then ask what exercises you can do to strengthen that muscle to try to get it to bulk up again. Joan Bell says, "I think my pelvic floor flares from sitting on the couch. It leans on the right side, so my hips follow, getting hard to sit at all." Well, anytime it's getting hard to sit, Joan, that's when we always have to look at muscles impacting nerves. I'm in the same boat. And remember, one of the things that Dr. Weiss talks about in this book is how for many patients, when you're young, when you're in your teens and your 20s and your early 30s, you're fairly resilient and you don't necessarily feel the toll of cumulative injuries. You don't start feeling cumulative damage until you're mid to late 30s. And so, and again, anytime we see discomfort with sitting, we're really looking at muscle and nerve. And so if there's anything you can do to balance out your couch, can you put some books under the legs that are shorter and try to get it level out? And then of course be careful how you're sitting. Don't do, you don't want to sit like this, right? Which I am prone to do. You don't want to sit on one of your feet because that also will make you tilt like that. If you feel like you need to bring your feet up, sit Indian position. At least that's balance and not for a long period of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It will help stretch some things out, et cetera, et cetera. Hello, Cindy. Nice to see you. Katrina, the joys of siblings. Yeah. Boys are weird. I do not understand how brothers think half of the time. Not, no, no, no. 95% of the time. I don't understand how boys think. Elaine says she's missing going to pelvic floor physical therapy. Yeah, well, this is when having a glass wand so that you can do your own internal work is important. And we have them. So this is called Easy Magic by IC Relief. And I did mine last night. Hey man, no shame. I'll talk about anything. You know that pretty much. Right? And so this is a wand that you do internally. This is exactly the one that I use. And it's a very kind of surreal because you're laying on your back. The physical therapist has kind of basically described what you're going to do. She might have even had you demo a little bit, you know. But in the end, it's still you and a wand in your bedroom alone trying to figure out what the hell you're touching. And I have found it very, very surreal. Again, I'm dealing with post-hysterectomy scar tissue and nerve damage and stuff like that. And so for me, it's like, okay, okay, what's that? Okay, do I go there or do I go there? Oh, no, no. You know, but I'm getting better at it. The problem is I couldn't visualize it well. I didn't understand what I was touching. And now I do. With the help of this book, I totally understand where I'm working and how to use it correctly. as I've said this before in meetings, my physical therapist said, "Keep using a J motion, a J or a J." And I was just, like, trying, like, last year or so ago, "What the hell is a J?" I didn't know how to use a J with my wand down inside my body. Now I totally get it, and the book has taught me that. Alright, who's texted me? Ooh, my screen time was up 16% last week. Gee, go figure. Who knew? Alright. And so anyway, you can get these wands. We have a straight wand. There's a straight wand. There's a curved wand like this, and then there's a much longer curved wand for people who are not perhaps as flexible or have other access issues. So we have a bigger one too. Katrina says, I'm on immunosuppressants for a kidney transplant and finally got approved Friday to work from home. I'm so relieved. Girl, congratulations. That it is absolutely the right thing. I have not left my home now in 16 days. And we're getting close to we're out of my parents' fiber bread. They're eating my Ezekiel bread right now. Hello, Daniela from Italy. Hello, Gladys from Louisiana. Hey, Gladys. So sorry to hear about what's happening down in New Orleans. Please stay safe. Please stay home. April says, my IC is raging right now. I don't know, maybe stress related. I'm taking care of grandkids while my daughter must work. It's a very strange time. And the joy, April, is that you're with your grandkids. The challenge is that your grandkids are making you work more, and we have lots of fears about contagion and all that sort of stuff too. Try to do something that you like every day. Try to have a really organized schedule with your grandkids so that you and they know what you're going to do throughout the day. Whether in the morning, whoops, no, Norton, you do not need to remind me to add a security extension to Chrome. I just had a window pop up on my computer. I just think having a schedule every day is helpful. And so whether, first thing in the morning, it's going to be breakfast and maybe watching some cartoons, then the TV is going to turn off and maybe you guys are going to do some fun exercises together or some songs together. Um, and then maybe you're going to do a little craft with them or read a book with them, or maybe for 30 minutes they get to straighten up their toys in your house. I think that when you have a little bit of structure, it will take a lot of the confusion away. There's comfort in structure, especially with children, right? Hello, Kelly. Hi, Cheryl. Joan says, now nothing's working but the flexural. But Joan, see, the point is that the flexural's working. And so what does flexural do? It's a muscle relaxant. So that should tell you that you need to be focusing on muscle relaxation stuff, right? Hello, Shirley. Hi, Gina. And guys, I forgot to tell you. Now remember, for those of you struggling with pain, we had a research study presented a year ago from Italy that showed that PEA, palmitoethanolamide, combined with resveratrol, was remarkably helpful at reducing pain in IC patients. This was a formal research study presented at the American Urology Association meeting last year. It's been canceled for this year, unfortunately. And it was the Italians who did the study. PEA has been around for more than a decade in Europe and is used frequently for chronic pain. And what that study found was that 3 months, 87% of patients had a significant reduction in their pain. And at 6 months, 100% of IC patients had a significant reduction in their pain. So that formula called UMPI is not available in the United States, but Natural Approach Nutrition created a variation of that called Piora, which we have in our store now. And to be able to have something and offer you something that might help with your pain, notice I emphasize might, because everybody's different, but to have something like this proven in research to reduce pain in IC is a blessing. And so when they said they could do it, I was like, "Oh, hell yeah, please do it. This could really help patients who have been taken off their pain meds." So just so you know, this is now available, and it happens to be the cheapest supplement used by IC patients, just $29. And it's for 60 capsules. And so this is what I take when I feel like my nervous system is starting to get a little overreactive. I don't take it every day because I don't have pain every day, but as soon as I start feeling pins and needles in my skin or in my vulva or in my mouth, because I get a lot of weird mouth pain sometimes, uh, this is what I'll do. And it's remarkably good. It's amazing. I mean, I'm so happy that we have this. Libby says, hardly anything helps with pain anymore. I'm sure I have allodynia. Libby, have you tried the Peoria yet? I mean, it'd be amazing if it worked. Hello, John. Nice to see you. Hi, Marion. Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Kim. Regina says, Joan, can you take Flexeril during the day without being so sleepy? If I take a quarter of one, I can hardly hope. So, Regina, that's when you use baclofen. B as in boy, ACLOFEN, back, BAC as in Charlie, LO, F as in Frank, EN. Baclofen is a non sedating muscle relaxant that you can take during the day. I don't take baclofen because it makes my chin itch. Every time I've taken it, my chin itches. I do not get it. And so I figure, okay. All right, let's see how we're doing down here on YouTube. Nancy says, just took my last azo, debating if I should go out for more. Wear a mask. If you wear a mask, so the Center for Disease Control is now advising everybody to wear a mask when you leave. I'm making masks. I'm making a ton of masks. I have a new design. I'm now making masks with pockets for filters, and I've ordered filters. And so if you can wear a mask and just run out there, or hon, you can order it on Amazon and they should get it to you within 48 hours. Miss Up All Damn Night. What a great name, Miss Up All Damn Night. I love it. My first in a chat room, been living with IC for 36 years. Welcome, my dear. Welcome. Hey, man, girl, let me tell you, there's this whole sleep schedule for people with chronic pelvic pain or with chronic pain in general, and at least this was very, very true for me early on, back when my IC was really, really bad. I was afraid to sleep because that's when the pain was the worst, right? Y'all know that, right? I mean, you get to the point where it's hard to go to bed because that's when you don't have distractions. That's when you feel it. And so what happens is we just go to bed later and later and later and later, right? Until finally it's 1 in the morning, and then 2 in the morning, and then 3 in the morning, and then 4 in the morning. And then what happens is as you get better and you don't have that pain so much at night, your sleep gets normal again. And my sleep was normal for 10, 15 years until that damn uterine cancer thing and surgery. Bam, back to 3 in the morning. I am now going to bed at 2 or 3 in the morning. And it's been 3 freaking years. I also confess that I'm a little bit afraid. I'm going to make a true confession here. In 2017, in the fall, I went to bed early at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, and that was the night of the fire. And I got woken up at 1 in the morning by my father saying, "Get up, there's a fire, we may have to go." And I opened up my window, and it was terrible, and we lost 5,000 homes that night. We were gone for a week. We came back the next Sunday, cleaned out the fridge, went to the store, bought new stuff, washed my hair, was in bed by 9:30, and damn it, it happened again. Only this time at 4 in the morning, the police showed up with their sirens and their loudspeakers saying, "Please evacuate, fire coming." And we had another fire coming from the east this time, and we had to leave again. And so every time I go to bed early, I think about that post-traumatic stress disorder from the fires. It's crazy. So anyway, Ms. Up All Day Night, oh dear girl, I get it. And Iris says that's why I'm raising awareness on YouTube for a cure. Honey, now listen, Iris, now y'all know how I feel about the word cure. You don't cure an injury. You heal an injury. This is, remember, there are tremendous variants and subtypes in the IC patient population. There's no such thing as a cure for all IC. If your IC began after having a baby, a car accident, a fall, some sort of traumatic injury, cure is not the right word that you would use. It's heal. We have to heal that injury. If, on the other hand, you have Hunner's lesions and a viral infection from that are causing your Hunner's lesions, then yeah, we want to try to find the cure for that for sure. But just understand, subtyping is critical here. Peaceful Abundance says, I'm 55. I have very bad flares when I get my period, which is very heavy and lasts 30 plus days. Wow, you're still having periods at 55? I have to wonder, do you have endometriosis? So the thing that happens for a woman as she goes through reverse puberty, also known as menopause, take it from one who's been there, is that your periods, the length between your periods tend to get shorter. Instead of every 28 days, sometimes it becomes 21 days, and it becomes heavier. But so it'll be a 1 to 2 day absolute gusher. Holy hell, where is all that blood coming from? And then it's done on like day 3. And I found really heavy cramping during that last year that I was having periods. And so the odds are, Peaceful Abundance, that you are going through kind of that last stage of menopause or perimenopause. And so if I were you, I would do some reading on perimenopause, compare the symptoms. And the fact that your period's very heavy and lasting for 30 plus days, that points to some sort of endometrial hyperplasia. And I was just working with a patient last week who actually had exactly the same thing. And they did a cauterization of her uterine lining to stop that from bleeding. And again, God, you know what? I'm having a little bit of word fog today, probably because I've been going to bed at 3 in the morning. What do you call that when they go in and cauterize your uterine lining? And ablation, an endometrial ablation. Hey, found the word. Woohoo! Oh, hold on. My computer did something weird. Hello, Corrine. Nice to see you. Hi, Christy. If you go off Elmeron, how long does it take for it to begin working again? Oh, I don't understand your question. Are you saying you went off of Elmeron and then you went back on Elmeron? It can take weeks for the medication to build up on your bladder wall. Remember, I talked about that in our last support group meeting. The challenge, aside from eye damage, retinal damage, and aside from the tremendous cost and side effects of Elmeron, one of the challenges with Elmeron is that it is a very, 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 very tiny molecule. So imagine that you have a pit in your bladder wall, a hole in your bladder wall that you want the Elmeron to fill in. Little tiny molecules. It's going to be little tiny molecules that are going to build up over time to fill that hole. But the problem is, because of the size of the molecules, they're very easy to wash out. And if, for example, whether you're using Elmeron or preferably Cysto Protect or Bladder Builder or Bladder Rest or Desert Harvest Aloe or Cysto Renew, which are the supplements people use instead of Elmeron these days, if you're drinking a cup of coffee a day, you're going to destroy all of those. None of those are going to work for you to any great degree. Bryce says, how do I feel about Carol Baskin killing? I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no clue what you're talking about, Bryce. Regina says, I sit with my legs pulled up all the time with my heating pad. Well, just remember that when you're doing that, so if you're sitting like this, right? If you're sitting like this, you're basically sitting directly on your sit bones. And like, okay, so as soon as I did that, I could feel my nerves start to vibrate on my left side. And they talk about that again in this book. We want to make sure that we're not accidentally stretching the pudendal nerve. The same is true with another thing that I have loved to do is just this move, you right? Just kind of stretch out my back legs. And so, I mean, seriously, just bending over like this is to me it's heavenly and it really stretches out, back here. The problem is that if you bend it more than a 90-degree angle, you're also stretching your pudendal nerve. And then that's not good because then you're traumatizing your nerve, which is a whole nother thing. Hello, Kathy. Hi, Jamie. Holly says, don't take Elmeron. I have eye damage from it. Yeah. Corrine says, I was in the hospital Monday night, very sick. So I have oh, girl. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. So Corrine has the coronavirus. She's home. She can't see anybody. Your eye is so bad. Oh, girl. I'm so sorry. If I could give you, I consider this a hug from every single one of us. Okay. You are not alone, my dear. You are not alone. I mean, you're physically alone. You're not emotionally alone. We're here. We're sending you our love. We're sending you our compassion. We're sending you our kindness. We're sending you our strength. We're sending you our support. We're sending you our guardian angels. You know, I believe in guardian angels, by the way. I do. I met mine. I'll have to tell you that story at one point in time. It's very cool. I know that my grandma, my dad's mom, is my lead guardian angel for sure, 100%. And she's fierce. You know what? I'm going to tell you that story. You know what, Corrine, I'm going to tell you that story. Now, yeah, now, guys, some of you might think I'm a lunatic. I don't think I'm a lunatic at all. I have 3 college degrees. You know that I'm extremely academic and scientific, but I have faith. I have faith. I believe that spirit is powerful, that science can only go so far. But in the end, life happens. And science doesn't turn life on, something else turns life on. And I think that regardless of what your religion is, I have faith that there are higher powers. So I was my first year of IC. I had it now. I think most of you guys know that I was in a chemical accident. So I was training for a triathlon. And the pool that I was training in made a massive mistake with their chemicals, and I suffered an extreme chemical burn in my bladder because I swallowed it. From my kidneys down, my ureters, my bladder, my urethra were red as hell, and I was a mess. So my first diagnosis was chemocystitis. And of course, back then, I didn't really understand that it was injury. Even though and hello, chemistry degree. Ah, but I did what everybody kept saying to do, which is to drink cranberry juice. Well, I drank a quart of cranberry juice a day for a year after my chemical accident, not having a freaking clue that the acid from the cranberry was actually making my burn worse. So what started out as maybe a moderate burn, at the end of that year, I could barely walk. I would drive to work bawling my eyes out. I would walk into work crying, and everybody would look at me like I was a nut. Hitting a bump in the car was terrible. All my nerves were turned on. And again, I had no freaking clue that the cranberry juice was making it so much worse. And I just got very and then I had allodynia. You couldn't touch me up to my waist without it hurting. Just the littlest touch on my abdomen would hurt. Um, and I went through a very, very dark place where I had to decide if I was going to live or not. And I had a doctor say to me, that moment was when I had a doctor say to me at the emergency room, "Jill, you will forever be a burden on your family. This is your life. You will always live with severe pain. You better get used to it." And that's what woke me up. It's like, "What? Wait a second. I'm not going to be a burden on my family. I will prove you wrong, you son of a bitch. How dare you say that to me?" And that was the moment that I started fighting. Instead of being passive and instead of just like letting it all happen to me, I was like, "Oh, hell no. No, 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 no." And that's when I started reading. And that's when I started being much more proactive and dedicated myself to wanting to prove him wrong. I was not going to be a burden on my family in any way, shape, or form. No way in hell. No freaking way in hell. Well, and so that's when things started to turn around. But the damage that happened from the acid took 5 years to heal. Easy, easy. I couldn't sit in a car for 5 years without crying after that. And my boyfriend left, and I had no physical affection. I had, I was very, just very like, stay the fuck away from me. I mean, that's how I felt. It's like, no, no, don't come close to me. I was just trying to maintain. I was afraid of any physical touch. I was just like, leave me alone. I'm just making it here. Just leave me the hell alone. Right. And I felt very alone in that struggle. And you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. And then one day I was I didn't like driving. Driving downtown, which is 3 miles away, was, man, that might as well have been 100 miles away back then. Sitting in a car was so painful back then. But I could go a mile or 2 and, and it wasn't fun, but I could do it. So, I'm driving down the road and going by our old UPS, little mini UPS outlet, which is closed, and there's a little beauty salon right next to it, right on our little urban highway, and it announced massages. And I thought, "Huh, I bet I never in my life had a massage, ever, ever, ever." And I thought, "You know what? I think that might help." So I called and made an appointment to have a massage. And so I went in, met the lady, sweet, sweet lady, and I said, "Now listen, you can't touch me from my boobs to my crotch. No touching, nothing. I am in agony here. But you can do my legs, you can do my neck, you can do my arms, etc., etc." And she's like, "Not a problem." This sweet lady was just the nicest lady in the world. And so I took my clothes off, laid on the thing, and she was wonderful. I've now had many, many massages since then. It was life-changing. It was so the power of touch and hands working on your body and working on your muscles and calming things down and stretching things out and warming things up is undeniably good. And I did not understand how tense I was. And having muscles relax in a massage was life changing. It was so incredibly helpful to me. But again, I'm like totally paranoid. You can't touch me from here to here. Seriously, do not touch nowhere, nowhere. You cannot do anything there. And so at the end, I'm like all mellowed out. It's been 45 minutes or an hour. And she said, "Jill, I just want you to lay here and just relax for like 10 minutes." And I'm like, "Okay." And she walked out of the room, and I'm laying there with my eyes closed. I feel incredibly warm and incredibly comforted. When I realize, now my eyes are closed, that there are people standing around my bed where I was laying, and my grandmother was right here. And the love was staggeringly beautiful. I have never been felt more love than I did at that very moment. I was surrounded and just held in the cradle of warm love by these figures. And I knew my grandma for sure, 100%, totally recognized her voice. It was like, and what did she say to me? She said, Jill, you are not alone. You will never, ever be alone. I am with you. We are all with you on this journey. And I started to cry because it still makes me cry now because I felt deeply so alone in my struggle with IC. And here is my grandmother who had been dead for 20 years holding me with so much love, saying, I am with you. I will always be with you. You do not walk alone in this struggle. I am here. She's here right now, I'm sure. So anyway, I start bawling and calm myself down. 5 minutes later, the masseuse comes back in. And I go, you're not going to believe what just happened. And she goes, what? I said, I swear, my grandmother was just here. I swear it. I just heard her. And I said, it wasn't just her. There were a couple of other people. And they were so warm. I've never felt that ever in my life. And she goes, well, of course they were. And I went, what do you mean? She goes, well, I called them. I called your guardian angels. You needed them. And now, guys, I'm scientific. I'm like, what? But it's the most spiritual moment in my life. And it still to this day makes me cry. It was real for me. And the most amazing thing is that she sent me on my way. I drove by a week later and she was gone. She was gone. She closed up shop and moved somewhere else. I think she was a living angel. So anyway, that's my story with guardian angels. I do believe we have guardian angels. I do. That's me. Joe Diffie passed away from COVID? Oh my God. Wow. Granted, some of you might think I'm a crackpot for that, but I don't care. It is the single most profound spiritual moment in my lifetime, and I embrace it fully. Brenda says, love, love, love Pura. Helped me so much. You almost off of Norco. Yeah, baby. Woohoo! Ellen says, is IC an autoimmune disease? The answer is no. IC is not an autoimmune disease unless you have Hunner's lesions. For the rest of us, it's usually some sort of injury or trauma, either to the bladder or to the pelvic floor or to the nerves in the area. Regina says, I'm so happy to hear my sleep schedule isn't the only one. That is crazy. I know, right? It's so weird. But that's us, and that's the chronic pain patient in a heartbeat, is we just go to bed later and later. Alice says, hello, have you worked with people who've had bladder cancer tumors and then have IC after the surgery trauma? Yes, I have. Do having those scars take longer to resolve? So again, Alice, so again, you had major bladder, number one, you had bladder cancer. And then they did surgery. And yes, the surgery is remarkably traumatic to the bladder, but it heals. The healing process is always happening. And so I would expect that your bladder has actually healed well from the surgery, but you've got some scar tissue now at the incision site. And it's the scar tissue, the thing with the bladder is it's like a little balloon. So it opens up as it gets fuller and fuller. And then when you pee, it gets back down into a smaller capsule. When you've got scar tissue, that scar tissue does not stretch as much. So your bladder might only be able to open a less than it could before because of your scar tissue. Um, um, Sometimes what they will do is something called the bladder holding protocol. And with a bladder holding protocol, what it's basically timed voiding, where their goal is to try to stretch your bladder slowly and consistently over time, as long as it doesn't provoke any pain. You're not supposed to do it if you have pain because we don't want to make pain worse. But if you're just having more frequency, urgency from a smaller bladder capacity and you're peeing every 20 minutes, what they will do in a bladder holding protocol is they'll say, okay, try to hold it for 25 minutes a couple of times a day. And once you're able to do that comfortably, then they will say, okay, let's go up to 30 minutes. And it's a very slow, gradual process. You don't just like hold it for an hour, bawling your eyes out because your bladder's screaming. That does not accomplish anything. That just reinforces pain, reinforces irritation, inflammation. It's kind of like giving yourself a mini hydrodistension, which is not a good thing. So when we do a bladder holding protocol because of a smaller bladder capacity, it's a very slow, gradual process. And so, Alice, I would think that that's what they would be having you do. And I think the other question too is if you had, they probably did BCG as a therapy too, right? Bacillus calmette-guerin, which ironically in a research study was found to be somewhat helpful for IC, although it wasn't good enough to become a treatment. Hello, David. Regina says, does viral infection cause Hunner's lesions? Well, we've got now 2 or 3 research studies from Europe which suggests that Hunner's lesion patients do have active viral infection in their bladder wall, but it's really only 2, potentially 3 viruses, polyoma BK, which is one we all have, Epstein-Barr is another virus that they have found in the urine of patients with Hunner's lesions. We also know that HPV, the human papillomavirus, can migrate into the bladder itself and the urethra. Hello, Betsa. Hi, Sophia. Hi, Julie. Christy wants to know who makes Peora Natural Approach Nutrition, also known as NAN. And this is a company that I've been working with now for about 2 years. Really thrilled with my relationship with them. And it's led by a gentleman with chronic pelvic pain from surgical malpractice. This was a guy who had quote unquote frequency urgency, and his urologist at the time said, "Oh, you need to have surgery." They did surgery on him and just butchered him. That surgeon is now in jail for what they did to the CEO of Natural Approach Nutrition, who ended up starting the company to help other patients who also have pelvic pain because his nerve damage is permanent now. And so this was, I mean, it's so interesting. When people contact me, I don't usually ask who you are. And in this case, he wrote me this very somewhat desperate letter 6-7 years ago. And there was just something about the letter that really touched me. And so I wrote a really long email back to him and worked with him for a couple of years. And then finally one day he goes, "So Jill, I need to tell you who I am." And I'm like, "No, you don't. I don't need to know who you are. I mean, I've worked with people in the White House with IC guys. I mean, like, seriously, I'm not lying. Broadway stars, Hollywood stars. You don't need to tell me who you are. It's fine." He goes, "No, I really need to tell you who I am." And I'm like, "No, you don't." He goes, "Yeah, I do." It turned out he's a big CEO of a whole bunch of companies, and that his injury had virtually destroyed his life. We were able to, we've got him much better, but he's got legacy damage now from that original botched surgery. And it changed his life. And so he owned a coffee company. He owned a couple of other companies, and he decided to dedicate his life to working to try to ease the suffering of patients with pelvic pain. And he is now the CEO of Natural Approach Nutrition. Very responsive. In fact, I just had a text from him while we were talking. I should look at that. Hello, Kayla. Hi, Susan. Regina says, I absolutely believe in guardian angels. Yeah, I do too. I know when I'm driving, I know absolutely 100% when I'm driving. My first boyfriend, Earl, is in the seat next to me. 100%. We lost him 30 years ago. Cindy says, "Thank you for sharing, Jill. I'm recently homeless, but I know my Father in heaven is with me." Yep. And we all have different faiths, guys. It's okay. It does you don't have to believe the way I believe. I just hope that you've got some whatever gives you comfort. I hope it gives you comfort. Wow, Barbara, thanks for sharing. So you guys, I need your help. I okay, so I had uh I need your help with a couple of things. Um I kind of had an epiphany last night about the IC network. I mean, I love what I do. I've been doing this for 25 years. Our website is rated number 1 in the world by Harvard Medical School and the University of London. So icnetwork.org. Please go on over to our website if you're trying to learn stuff. We for many before Facebook, we were the social hub for IC. At our we were working with millions of patients a year in our support forum. But now that we have social networking and Facebook, there are lots and lots of support groups, and my passion isn't with that anymore. Donna runs our forum. I don't go in there that often. I just did it for 20 years, and it's just not my passion. My passion is doing these. I love being your support group leader online, and so I'm really trying to think about what I'm gonna do with that forum. It's a massive forum. There's at least 1,000,000 messages in there, I think, or 1,000,000 responses from IC patients. What I'd like to do is find the best and turn it into a book, but I might sometime in the next year actually shut it down. I might. I'm thinking about it. Um, because I think the future in terms of support is really doing live meetings like this. And I always want to be focused on the future. So I wanted to ask you about that. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me that um, really do people even go to websites that much anymore? Or are we really just doing support social networking? I'm curious. The second thing is, I would I need some story ideas. What would you like to see covered? Uh, for our next magazine, I think I'm going to dedicate it to patient stories, our spring magazine. I already have a ton of patient stories that I can put into it. But are there any topics that you would like to see covered? Are there any topics that I can go to the top IC doctors in the world who are my friends? If there's something that you would like to get answers to, I would love to try to get those answers for you. And so if you have any topics you'd like to see covered, please let me know. I also want to take a moment and thank our sponsor, Preleaf. Preleaf is the company that makes these meetings happen. So Preleaf is the oldest supplement and used 30 plus years old. It reduces the acid level in your urine. So if you're going to eat or drink something you know you shouldn't eat or drink because it might irritate your bladder because you got Hunner's lesions or a bladder wall injury, then Preleaf is the bomb. It's made of calcium glycerophosphate. Preleaf can reduce 95% of the acid with 2 pills and a cup of coffee. So there are options here with Preleaf. All right. Of course, I always say, remember, you don't eat Preleaf like candy. You don't just keep popping it during the day because it is calcium, and if you eat too much calcium, you could get kidney stones. But it is considered it is by far the most popular and effective supplement used in the IC world. Just know that it does not do anything for the health of your bladder wall. All it does is reduce acid level. Okay. Preleaf. Thank you, Preleaf. And DSC Healthcare Solutions for believing and supporting our work and helping IC patients. All righty. Hello, Molly. It's nice to see you. Cindy, I have 4 generations of IC. I would love to know what this is all about. Cindy, I can tell you what that is. That's called central sensitization. So this goes back, even though I had trauma when I was 32, the chemical burn. Every woman in my family going back 3 generations has, quote, honeymoon cystitis. But we also have extremely sensitive skin. Like, I can't wear wool, I can't wear waffle knits. I'm even at the point now that I'm older where I can barely I have to like, this is, rayon. Like, I can't tolerate thick seams under my arms anymore or inside my legs anymore. The fabric that I wear has to be smooth and soft, but it can't be too smooth. That drives me crazy too. It's weird. We tend to have drug sensitivity, where a normal dose of a medication is often too strong for us. We're the ones who get side effects all the time. It's crazy. It's like it's kind of scary to take stuff because if anybody's going to react, it's going to be somebody with central sensitization. We tend to have food intolerance, and not just for our bladder, for our whole body. There are just some foods that don't work for us. For me, that's oatmeal and chocolate. I don't eat oatmeal. I get bent over and scream or cramping like, "Oh my god, I'm laying in the fetal position on my bathroom floor if I've eaten oatmeal or if I've eaten chocolate." Terrible bowel spasms. We have a wicked sense of smell. We can smell things that other people cannot smell, and smells drive us absolutely crazy. We tend to have sometimes visual sensitivity where if there's a funky pattern in a carpet or a wallpaper, if Carol was in here, Carol, I don't know if you're in here. Carol was a member of my original support group here in Northern California, and she's on Facebook every now and then. Carol, if you're watching this, you're the one who taught me this 25 years ago or 20 or whatever. And that is, Carol was the one who tried to go to an IC event, and it was at a hotel, and there was this really weird pattern in the like a woven pattern in the carpet, and it was making her nauseous. Or if you walk into the grocery store and your eyes are kind of overwhelmed by all the cans, it's like sensory overstimulation. That is actually somewhat common. Also, even sensitivity to sounds, and this is very true for me. I can hear, you know, the mouse scratching in the wall. Not that I don't have mice in my walls anymore. Oh, but I do have termites. We just found termites in my bedroom. I cannot believe it. Like if it's going to happen to anybody, it's going to happen to me. Termites in my bedroom wall. So got the termite people coming out Tuesday morning to do a deep treatment around the foundation. Like seriously, my bedroom? Thank you. Okay. So, it's what we consistently find, Cindy, is that this is most common in people of a Northern European descent. Sweden, Norway, Scandinavia, Ireland, Scotland, Britain, Germany. And my guess as to why that's happening is that it's a concept of evolutionary adaptation. So, and remember, central sensitization is not a disease. It is our gift of our ancestry. You have, you didn't, you have, well, you and I have no control over the genes that are passed down. I know that I'm 95% Scandinavian, basically 98 to 99% Scandinavian and 2% Western Russian. Go figure. I don't know how many generations ago that was. My family is from northern Norway and Sweden. So go back 5,000 years. What were my ancestors eating? Because remember, our body evolves over time, evolutionary adaptation. The fastest cheetahs survive because they can catch food. The fastest gazelles survive because they can outrun the damn cheetahs. And so we know that species adapt over time. So let's go back to what life was like in Scandinavia 5 to 10,000 years ago. World's blandest diet. What were they eating? Seals, fish, venison. Did they have fruit? Yeah, they had berries once a year, maybe apples. That's it. Once a year, not every day, once a year. They had salt, but they didn't have spices. They didn't have pepper. They didn't have cinnamon. They didn't have coffee. They didn't have tea. They didn't have chocolate. And so, and this goes back thousands and thousands of years. So I think, and then also think about sensitivity. Sensitivity is actually an evolutionary must because you always have to have somebody in the tribe who can figure out if it's good water or bad water. They can taste it or smell it, good water or bad water, good food or bad food. And so being sensitive, having somebody in your tribe who is sensitive was essential to the survival of your tribe because we could smell the fire, which is even true today. We could smell the threat. We could smell the good food. We could smell the bad food. So again, getting back to Scandinavia, now let's look. So when did the common people get chocolate? Chocolate comes from Africa, right? Probably about 1,000 years ago. And so I have to argue that the reason why I have such a violent reaction to chocolate is because my body just doesn't know how to process it. Chocolate to my body is like poison and it feels like poison. Now this isn't true for everyone, but hello, 95% northern Scandinavia, that's me. My ancestors were not exposed to chocolate for a long enough period of time to adapt and create a process to get rid of that chocolate in our body. And the same is true with caffeine. If I'm exposed to caffeine, I shake like a leaf for hours and hours and hours, and I will not sleep that night if I have one caffeinated coffee. Why? Well, because again, my body just doesn't know how to do it. My body doesn't know how to process it. It's very, very sensitive to that. You compare and contrast that with somebody who grew up around the equator, where you had fruit every day of the year, pretty much. Or Spain, where you had oranges or tomatoes or chilies. Or if you were in Africa, you had African related foods. You might not have done so well with loganberries because those are extremely Northern European. And so uh, life in 2020 is very hard for somebody with a lineage that had so few exposures. And the odds are, Cindy, you already have adapted your life. You're not using scented candles to any great degree. You're not using Febreze. You already know that there are some things that just don't work for you, and you already avoid those. But we don't look at that type of IC subtype 5 as a disease process. That is not a disease process. That is ancestry. That is the gift of our ancestry. And I just wish that um, if I could go back to my 20s, because generally kind of a lot of it hits in your 20s. Um, I didn't understand all these weird things that were happening to me. It's like first the vulvodynia, and then this, then that, yada yada yada, and then the food intolerances, and then the migraines, which all happened in my 20s. Which I just thought I was damaged goods. I didn't understand why. I just didn't understand any of it. I thought I was being punished. I thought I was a bad person. I didn't understand why I was struggling to the degree that I was. But once the research studies came back that showed that some variants of IC ran in families, and we started looking at inheritance, it's like, oh, well, my mom has this, my sister has this, my aunt has this, my cousin has this, my grandma was diagnosed with IC formally at the age of 95. But she'd had symptoms for years. We used to laugh about it. She had to go to the bathroom all the time when we were kids. And then not laughing about it anymore. Now we get it. And so again, if I could go back in time, what I would explain to children is, listen, everybody has their own unique preferences, things that help us thrive, things that help us survive. And as you move through life, you are going to be on that journey where you get to find the foods that your body loves and the foods that your body hates. And if there are foods that make you feel ill, those are probably going to be the foods that you stay away from. And the same with an environment. Some people say that to be um, uh, when I grew up, the epitome of being successful was either being in the military or working in the city or working for the government. And when I tried to do that, I was miserable. The work was easy, piece of cake, could have done it with my eyes closed, but the process of commuting to San Francisco, which was 80 miles each way, and dealing with the food down there and the smells down there, I was miserable. So finding a job isn't just about finding what you're good at, it's about finding where you thrive. I thrive in a quieter environment, in a suburban or rural environment. I survive with fewer people around. I do much better working alone or working with a small group of people. So, anyway, Nancy says, I can't use anything scented. I have a problem going outside when my neighbors are doing laundry. Yeah, the odds are they're using fabric softener or they're using, dryer sheets. Barbara says, why does the Medicaid company stop paying for the meds that work for us? That would be a good topic. You know what? That would be an excellent topic. Thank you. A lot of it's formulary, a lot of it's money management, a lot of it is the pharmaceutical companies are just raising prices so dramatically because, the government is the golden goose. Having a government contract is good money for businesses. They really like that. And so, um, eventually the government says, "You're too expensive and I cannot afford you anymore, and we're gonna take you off the formulary," and that's usually why Medicaid stops. Here, I'm cold. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab a sweater. Hold on. This is my house. It's a shrug from J. Jill. All right. Oh yeah. So comfortable. And talking for a long period of time, my mouth and my lips get really dry. So hold on. I got to do that. And I have my dry mouth gel, Biotine dry mouth gel, which helps me do this. All right, my mouth is now nice and coated. Regina said, I just want to say I appreciate you being so kind in all you do. I visited on and quote all natural support group, but hate to say some of the most unkind people. You are so kind. You know, I'll tell you this. I mean, I've trained a lot of support group leaders over the years, and I have a master's degree in psychology with an emphasis in groups. And so I learned in graduate school that the approach that I use to running a support group is that honestly, the least important opinion in the room is my opinion. My job is to facilitate discussion and to be really, really aware of my biases so that I do not. The nightmare to me would be to turn somebody away from the one treatment that could help them. And so my approach to running a support group has always been to try to share with you the options, all of the options, and to give you pros and cons for the options, but then kick you in the butt, get you to go back to your doctor and talk about those pros and cons. The problem with Facebook is that these group leaders come in extremely biased to the point that they limit discussion. But more importantly, they can be extremely closed-minded and not willing to look at other things. As an example, some of the fans of Dr. James Malone Leib absolutely believe that many patients have chronic bacterial infection. And yet, what our own National Institutes of Health here in the United States continues to find is fungal infection that we are finding. And I talked about this in our magazine, in the last magazine I released, which is this one. So if you don't get the IC Optimist magazine, you know, It would be great if you became a member. You could get it for $25 a year, and that's really what keeps us going. We need our members to help pay these crazy bills that we've got about doing all this internet stuff. Um, anyway, in this book, we talked about two research studies which show that, interestingly, very, very interestingly, patients with more pain often have more fungus, more species of fungus in their bladders. Now, again, the MAP Research Network 5 years ago told us that many patients with flares actually had candida infections in your urine. And of course, the problem is that typical urine testing does not find candida infections. Think about it. Seriously, think about it. You're having terrible symptoms. You're 100% convinced you've got a bladder infection. You go have a urine test and it comes back negative. Well, the flaw with the urine test is it only tests for bacteria. It doesn't test for fungi. And what do you do? What do a lot of people do? You got antibiotics sitting on your bedside table. You throw on an antibiotic just to be on the safe side. And what does that do? That creates an environment for more fungus to grow, more fungus to grow. And so it was, and candida, because they continue to track high levels of candida yeast in the urine of patients with IC. So again, getting back to this whole concept of bias, I think that, it is a poor group. It is a poorly run group. And I had this happen early on back in when we were running the IC support group on America Online in 1992. And 1990, 1991, 1992, and part of 1993. And then I stopped being a support group leader there to start the IC network. And one of my co-leaders absolutely believed that it was bacteria for everybody and was making crazy ass statements about antibiotics, that everybody should take antibiotics. It's like, girl, no, 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 no. So you wanna have somebody's neutral, and I pride myself in being as neutral as I can possibly be. My worst fear would be to turn you away from the one treatment that could make you better. Angie, my now retired pain management doctor recommended you see a physical medicine and rehab doctors. How are they different from a physical therapist? Well, number one, they're MDs. They're not physical therapists, they're doctors. And so I go to a physical medicine doctor for my SI joint. I've had steroid shots, a couple of steroid shots in my SI joint. And I would like to do some prolotherapy to strengthen the ligaments and around my SI joint to stabilize it a little bit more. And that's not something a physical therapist would do. That's something that a physical medicine doctor would do. Their job is to look at your anatomy. Their job is to look at your bony structures. So the physical therapist is muscle. The physical medicine doctor's hopefully going to look at the relationship between bone groups and muscle groups and tendons and all that sort of stuff like that. So I think you should go for sure. 100%. Ooh, Angie, you got your carrot bar. It was so good. Awesome. They are all. See, this would explain why I have an extra inch or two of fat on my waist right now. Yes, I do. Hey, man, I'm going to have a cookie. Karina, hello from Sweden. Oh, welcome, 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 Karina. I have dreamed I have not been to Sweden, although apparently I have a great aunt in outside of Oslo. No, outside of Stockholm. And I always, and when I was young and growing up as a redhead, and I was always teased. I was the only redhead in my school. I always fantasized about going back to Sweden to be with my people, Sweden and Norway or Ireland, anywhere there were redheads. Joyce, how can you tell if a bladder flare affects your colon or if your colon sets off your bladder? I have IC and IBS. Well, okay, so we know again from published research studies that and it was actually called the pepperoni pizza algorithm in the first paper. We know that if the bowel gets irritated, the nerves in the bowel are irritated, that those nerves end up at the spinal cord proximal or right next to the nerves of the bladder. So what happens is something called neurocrosstalk. So the irritated nerves of the bowel then irritate the nerves of the bladder, and so bowel irritation will trigger bladder irritation and vice versa. Uh, sometimes you don't know what the trigger is. We know that if you're constipated, then that pressure is either going to physically press against your bladder, or it's also going to cause muscle tension, muscle irritation, muscle spasms that could also irritate your bladder. But the connection is the nerves and the muscles. So if the nerves are irritated, you're going to see nerve irritation throughout the pelvis. If the muscles are tight or spasming, that's also going to affect your bladder, etc. Um, I always thought it was really interesting. My IBS is very, very controlled now. It's really, really rare that I have an IBS attack because I've got my diet nailed. And what 9 times out of 10 triggered IBS for me was eating green salad. And so I don't eat lettuce. I don't eat greens anymore. And I'm so much better. It's unbelievable how much better I am. I do tons of salad, carrots, beets, cucumbers, peas. I love eating salad. I just don't eat lettuce or spinach, and my body is so much happier for it. But back when I was doing that, if I would go out with my girlfriends and have salad for lunch, 45 minutes later, I'd be in the bathroom with bend over and screamers, and I'd have massive diarrhea from IBS. And I always thought it was really interesting that in the middle of that, and particularly at the end of that, it was actually really hard to pee. Like, there were times when I just literally couldn't pee. And that was because all the muscles were cramping. The muscles had cramped down because of the diarrhea. And that's when you got to breathe, walk away, get a heat pad. 15 minutes later, the muscles are usually relaxed and you can pee again. In fact, that's exactly why I did my internal massage last night, because yesterday I hadn't done my internal massage for about 2 weeks. And I actually started noticing it was getting a little tiny bit harder to pee. And I thought, oh, I better check in with those muscles, and which I did last night. And interestingly, the muscles on my left side were fine. The muscles on my right side were really, really painfully tight. And so I worked on that for about 10 minutes last night, and I'm better today because of it. And I can pee, no problem, as long as I remember to drink water. Toast to your health and wellness, to your family, to your friends. May you be safe. May you be comfortable. May you smile and know that you are not alone, that we are here. We are all in this together. A toast, my friends, a toast to those we have lost and to those who are by our side. Vicky, let's see. Regina says, could drinking massive amounts of orange juice when I was younger cause IC? However, my mom has. Well, so Regina, let's talk about that for a moment. Number one, the human bladder is not designed for massive levels of acid all day. Your bladder is like your mouth. It is a hollow organ covered with mucus. And I have a good picture here. Let me get my slide, right? I haven't whipped this out in a while. So this is one of the early educational tools for Elmeron. We do owe them a debt of gratitude, because literally for the first 20 years, they were the ones educating doctors about IC. And so this is one of their early educational resources. And so this is a 3-dimensional picture of the bladder wall. So at the very top, like your mouth, you've got a layer of mucus. And then underneath that mucus, you've got 4 to 5 layers of urothelial cells. And then underneath that, you've got blood vessels and nerves. Okay. And these yellow spots here is urine. So normally you would have a nice thick coating of mucus that would prevent the irritants in your urine from reaching here or reaching here. But if you've sustained a bladder injury or if you have estrogen atrophy, what happens? The mucus goes away and urine now can penetrate down into these cells where they cause mast cells to release histamine and they trigger all sorts of bad stuff. So the question here, Regina, is this mucosal barrier, is this mucosal barrier able to withstand acid all day, every day? And the answer I'm going to argue is absolutely not. Because again, go back 5,000 years when the body we have today is a result of evolution that happened 5,000 years ago because evolutionary adaptation happens in 5,000 years. So the body you and I have today is designed for our ancestors 5,000 years ago. So what were they eating? They weren't eating orange juice. They didn't even have orange juice. Orange juice is a fast food, modern food, uh, uh, product, high in sugar. And when you eat things high in sugar, you crave it more, and so you're going to drink more. That's why it's so much sugar in our food. I mean, those companies are profit companies. They want you to become addicted. They want you to keep eating their product over and over. That's why there's sugar in everything from hamburger buns to ketchup to yogurt to orange juice. So I'm going to argue that yes, I do believe that drinking massive amounts of acid is going to slowly erode this mucosal barrier over time. I do. Now, the fact is your mom has IC too, but the odds are your mom has sensitive nerves, and so let's just say here that you got some acid erosion, but you were born with more sensitive nerves anyway, like me. And so you just may be reacting to to earlier than other people who don't quite have the same sensitivity. I hope that kind of makes sense. Kind of. Vicky says, I'm subtype 5. I can't stand air freshener. I'm better out of the city. Girl, you and me both. That's why if we do an IC conference, hopefully maybe in a couple of years, when all this virus stuff has calmed down, we haven't had an IC conference in 15 years, a national IC conference. I would love to chair a national IC conference. Question is where to do it. I mean, I chaired my last conference like 15 years ago. No, in 2006, we had the San Diego IC conference that was put up by the San Diego IC support group leaders, and I was supposed to be the facilitator that day, but I had an ear problem and they wouldn't let me fly, so I couldn't get down there. Then there was another conference in Boston a week after 9/11, and I was too chicken to get on a plane to go chair that conference. Yeah. So if we're going to do a conference, we're going to do one. We're going to do one in California or maybe Denver. Denver might be a good place in the middle of the country. Okay, seriously, I have an eyelash in my eye, or it's just dry. Stop it. All right, we'll see. I got eye drops if I need them. Molly, nothing really hit until last year. I had IBS at the age of 13, asthma at 16, fibro in my 30s, breast cancer in my late 30s, ovarian cancer middle 40s, breast cancer at 47. 20s were in touch. So why does God hate me so much now? Oh, honey, God doesn't hate you. No, 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 no. Nobody promised us that we wouldn't be ill when we were born. This is a journey. This is a life journey that we're on, and it's not where we get. It's how we make that journey. I think in some cases, not to belittle it, because I've been there. So I had IBS. I had my first IBS attack eating oatmeal cookies when I was in fifth or sixth grade. I also had asthma around that time too. Not so much now. Um, and vulvodynia and all that sort of stuff in my 20s. I mean, Molly, I truly, truly in my 20s thought that I was being punished. I didn't get it. I did not understand why all I mean, the IC, the IBS, I had migraines for 6 months or a year, you name it, it seemed like it happened. And I mean, honestly, I became profoundly depressed. I thought I was being punished. Didn't believe that I deserved to go out to dinner with family. My self-esteem could not have been lower than it was in my late 20s, even though even though I got through grad school and won a presidential fellowship. I mean, yeah, that looked all great on the front, but on the inside, I was deeply, deeply burdened, wondering what I had done to deserve this punishment of having all these health issues. But then the research happened, which showed about genetics. And this massive, massive weight was lifted off of my shoulders entirely. And I realized at that moment, you know what? I had done absolutely nothing wrong. None of this was my fault in any way, shape, or form. And it's not your fault either. It's not your fault either. You haven't done anything wrong. There is no shame. There is no blame. I don't want you carrying any burden. I don't want you thinking like you are damaged goods or this is your fault. It is not your fault. Life is perilous and we've got ancestry. And so the cancer that you struggled with, there just may be a genetic connection and it just may not be, in your control. The good news here is that medical care today with cancer is fantastic. Detection is early and your odds are very, very good. Um, but you are loved, hon. You are not hated. You are loved. You are loved. And I understand about wanting that break. And I think that that's something that you've got to do. You've got to, you know, make time for yourself and you've got to give yourself comfort. And, that's something that I learned after my uterine cancer 3 years ago is that without any shame, I was very good about walking into my bedroom, shutting my door, and if I needed to cry, I cried. If I needed to immerse myself in anything other than the pain that I was in, you know what, man? I read like a beast. I listened to Joel Osteen. Whatever I could that would give me comfort. But, after working with IC patients all day and hearing difficult stories, my defense is that I immerse myself for the rest of the day in something completely unrelated. And so I read vampire books. I do. The Black Dagger Brotherhood just released a fantastic new book. Oh my God, it was the end of the series. 18 books later, or Diana Gabaldon, Outlander, anything. I like books where it's the same people over and over and over again. Romance, love stories, sex. I love romance novels. Um, or going and sitting at a coffee shop and having your tea and bringing your book and just you time. You time. Listening to your favorite music. No shame, no blame. You deserve comfort. And if you need help from your family, ask for it. Ronald Perez says, I love your accent. I'm learning English. I have an accent? Really? This is a California girl. Well, I'm a mimic. I'm a really good mimic. So if I'm talking to somebody with a Southern accent, I can give them back a Southern accent. And if I'm talking to a Valley girl, I can give a Valley girl accent back. I'm a really good mimic. It's weird. Vicky says, quarantine stress eating. Girl, hello, Betty. You want to see my stress eating? I woke up this morning, you know, put my underwear on, looked in the mirror and went, "Oh my god, this is bad." But then it's like, "No, it's a qu you know what? We've never gone through this. No, I'm gonna have a cookie. I don't care if I get fat on it. I'm gonna have a cookie, and when this is all over and done, I will buckle back down and I will lose that weight." But comfort. I'm just not gonna eat a dozen cookies unless they're little tiny cookies. I was also eating Jelly Bellies. I never eat candy, and I was eating Jelly Bellies last week. I got my mom a big tin of Jelly Bellies. That was a mistake. That's why I gave all the Cara bars away. I only had 2 Cara bars. All of them went out. So Regina says, "I have learned so much today. I also had horrendous endometriosis and had to have a laparotomy, 3 laparotomies with a bowel resection and a hysterectomy." Holy hell, Regina. So when you were saying the pain with the colon and how it responds, it made some yeah. Molly, then if you're living in your room with your door closed, then maybe you need to get up out of your door, open the windows, get out in the sunshine and let the sunshine give you some comfort too. Yeah, gotta love mimics. Lauren says, "I love J.R. Ward. Have you read The Sinner yet?" The Sinner is Sin's story. Sin's story. He came over with X-Corps. I know you guys. So the Black Dagger Brotherhood is a vampire. It's about vampire wars that you've got vampire citizens who, well, ultimately it's about good and evil, and that the good and evil is there's a balance that good and evil are always fighting, and there's an evil force that's attacking humans and attacking the vampire families, and so there is a group called the Black Dagger Brotherhood, which are special, very very strong vampires who try to protect everybody by fighting the evil, and they are gritty and they are deep and they are aggressive and they are profound protectors, um and um and their names are great. Their names are they're meant to be very very fearsome, so they have very very fearsome names, like, but they're all spelled slightly different, like Vicious. One of the favorite characters is a guy named Vicious, but it's Vicious. And oh my god, Lauren, who's your favorite character? Who's your favorite character? I'd love to know who your favorite brother is. My favorite brother Z is Z. His story just talk about bawling your eyes out. His story is so good, and it was a happily ever after. He found his love. I've read her. Yeah, Karen Marie Moaning. I've read a little bit about her. Lori says, "My flares are caused by a tight pelvic floor. Would the supplement Peora help with the pain?" The supplement Peora might help calm any nerves down that are being exacerbated by the tight muscles. And so I think it'd be reasonable. The supplement is not going to relax muscles, but it will help calm any associated nerve irritation because of that. Lauren says she likes Blay and Z the best. Yeah, Blay's pretty cool. I like Blaylock. I do. I like Quinn. He Quinn kind of annoyed me for a while, but he's turned out to be pretty good a guy and a really good father with his 2 children. I could talk of Lauren, after we're done, we should just talk Black Dagger Brotherhood. It's very gritty, guys. It's very gritty. It's very sexy. It can be very violent, but it's also profoundly, uh, um when these guys find their mates, the love is undeniable, but it is a rocky journey. It is a very rocky journey for every single one of them. And the lead character is the Blind King, the last purebred vampire, and he watched his parents be murdered when he was young, and does not want to be the king, but he does eventually become the king. Like 7 feet tall, black hair down to his hips, with a guide dog. Had to eventually have a guide dog, which he loves fiercely. I know, Lauren, we should. You know what? After we're done, if you're around, we can just talk Black Dagger Brotherhood. I love them. But I also love Anne McCaffrey, Dragon Riders of Pern. All right, guys. Well, listen, we've been at this for a couple hours now. Well, no, we've only, man, so we've been at this for about 90 minutes. Any other questions? Any other questions, or should we talk about books? I'm happy to take any questions you have about IC. Tell you what, let's take a break, bio break. Everybody go pee. We'll be back. Go get a snack, go pee, and then we'll be back. All right, all right, all right. All right. Okay. The other books that I'm reading are Jennifer Ashley's Shifters Unlimited books. I'm rereading all of those. I love them. Deb Graham says, Bladder Builder, can this be taken in place of Elmeron IC conference in Canada? Yes, absolutely. It is meant to be an option for Elmeron, actually better because it has other ingredients in it that also have the potential of helping. So Bladder Builder also has collagen in it for the bladder wall. It's got quercetin in it for its antihistaminic effect. It's got some probiotics in it. It's got some amino acids, but the most important ingredient in Bladder Builder is, in fact, PEA for pain relief. So, Bladder Builder is absolutely the most comprehensive supplement used in the IC patient community. And it is here. Just to give you context, so this is black. I'm sorry, the light shines. Can you see that? Bladder Builder? Except it's 120 capsules. This is an old bottle. This is just a demo bottle. If you are, so people often ask, well, what supplement is the right one for me? And the answer is there's no way to tell you. There's no one treatment fits all approach that works for patients. And so it's really going to be, so when people ask me, okay, what supplement should I take? What's the right one for me? I always start with sensitivity. I always say, okay, are you super sensitive? Can you take anything, or are you afraid to try stuff because you're sensitive? For people who are, they'll try anything and they don't generally have side effects, we're always going to suggest Bladder Builder first, always. It's a really big, robust, comprehensive formula with a lot of different methods of action that can have the potential of kind of calming things down. But if you tend to be more sensitive and we're looking for a bladder coating effect, we would be doing Bladder Rest. That would be our first choice. If you're struggling with pain, I would be doing Peora. especially nerve pain. If you have um, used Cysto Protect before without any effect, we would do the Cysto Protect. Um, Cysto Protect is now, it's been back for, about a year, about 9 months. No, 3 months. No, 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 no. We got it in January, or late December, early January. So it's been back for 3 months. So we do have Cysto Protect again. Um, Many patients have found aloe, desert harvest aloe, to be particularly calming and soothing to an irritated bladder wall or an irritated urethra. So, aloe is an option. The challenge with aloe is that it does have, for some people, a fairly strong gut effect, like diarrhea, stomach upset. So, if you've taken aloe and you've had a stomach upset, then you would move to non-aloe products. And of course, Cysto Renew is includes aloe and the bladder coating ingredients, the chondroitin and the hyaluronate. So this is around a little bit. That's not quite as popular as the others. Um, and, and then, of course, we have the low acid multivitamin, Bladder Smart. I take this every night. I love it. I have flared so badly from one-a-days and Centrums. It's so great to have a low acid vitamin that does not irritate the bladder. And so Bladder Smart is one of the things I'm very, very excited about. And the cool thing about it is that it's small. It's a smaller, if you were using the old multi-right low acid vitamin, that was a big honking pill. You have to cut it in half or quarters. This is a very doable vegetable capsule. It's great. And then a new one that's coming out is called Prevent. Hopefully, look at this gorgeous label. I mean, if there's one thing about this company, this is their design aesthetic for their labels. It's nothing short of breathtaking. But their design aesthetic for the ingredients is just as breathtaking. So Prevent is for patients who struggle with recurring urinary tract infections. And it's kind of like Allura, but much more affordable. And it's already kicking off there. They kicked it off at the IC clinic. Dr. Ken Peters at Beaumont Health. So lots and lots of patients are already using Prevent for the ones who struggle with recurring urinary tract infections from menopause or whatever. So we don't have this one in yet, but I can't wait to get it because this may be the best of the bunch. Again, not for everybody. If you got pelvic floor issues, you got pelvic floor issues. Prevent's not going to work. This is not for IC. This is for a bladder wall issue or from chemotherapy or from Hunter's lesions. This is really for people who do have genuine recurring urinary tract infections. So that's going to be really cool when that comes out. Molly says, I look at my books and just, girl, come on, pick up your favorite book and read it again. Pick up your favorite book, get yourself a hot cup of water, hot cup of milk, get a fire in the fireplace. If you have a cat, put your cat in your lap, sit down and have some you time. You can reread your favorite books. It's okay. It'd be a very special time for you. I move one of my chairs directly in front of my fireplace. And like so I've got my feet up on the fireplace so that I feel the heat. Lauren says, I've been trying PR for the past few days. How long do you think until a couple weeks, probably a couple weeks? I mean, I felt it fairly quickly in the sense that a lot of my nerve pain, my pins and needle pain, stuff like that, was gone very, very quickly. Deb says, IC conference in Canada. Deb, I got to tell you, back when we had a robust international IC patient community, I wanted to have an international IC conference in Canada. I fought for it. And unfortunately, there were egos involved, and the ICA was involved, the IC Network was involved, all these groups in Europe were involved. There was massive infighting, and it just died. It just died. The worst fights were between the Netherlands and England on holy hell. We know that there's a lot of competition among doctors. There is a lot of competition among patient groups too back then. Cheryl says, "Can you take apple cider vinegar with IC?" I'm not a fan of it. I think ultimately you got to see how you feel. The thing with apple cider vinegar is it starts out as an acid, but very quickly becomes alkaline in your body. I don't like pH extremes. I like pH neutral. That's why I think drinking alkaline water all day is a mistake because bleach will eat your eyeballs out just as quickly as sulfuric acid will. We don't want to be strongly acidic nor strongly alkaline. We want to be neutral. And if God forbid you have Hunter's lesions, vinegar would be a terrible mistake. Molly says, "I love history and love mystery, suspense, thrillers." I'm reading the new Harlan Coben right now. I love Harlan Coben. And James Patterson, the Memory Man series is incredible. Vicky says, "I tried another brand of aloe capsules and it bothered my tummy." Aloe's real tricky because it has to be processed correctly. If it's leaving any of the skin, that's the part that causes, I mean, there are certain parts of the aloe plant that are linked not only to bowel issues and stomach issues, but also to even to cancer. So that aloe has to be processed very, very carefully. And really the only company that I think has shown really good consistency over the years is Desert Harvest aloe. I wouldn't buy aloe from any other company. I mean, they have been so closely involved with the IC community for so long. They're the company that I trust. Vicky says, "Could PR reduce neuropathy pain?" The answer is yes. In all of those research studies done in Europe over the last decade, and there are a ton of them for palmitoethanolamide, what they consistently found was that PEA actually seemed to work the best for neuropathies, nerve-driven pains. And so absolutely valid to try. Angie said, "Anybody can download Amazon's free Kindle and get free cheap book to read." Absolutely. I just got a book from Amy Stein. Amy Stein wrote Heal Pelvic Pain. The IC Solution was written by Nicole Kosian of Pelvic Sanity. And remember, you can get this book, the best book, in my opinion, ever written for us, Breaking Through Chronic Pelvic Pain, free on Kindle Unlimited. Or you can get it for $9.99 for Kindle regular, or you can buy it from us for $29. So, Deb, I would love to do a conference in Canada, getting back to Canada. The question is where? You know, the center of the country, I think, is really important. Maybe Calgary. Calgary might be a good place to do it. Barbara says, "This has been an excellent show as usual." Thank you. Lori, can vitamin D cause IC flares? Not usually. Not usually. Vitamin D is, especially D3, is usually fine. If you're taking a vitamin D with calcium and magnesium, you might be having a reaction to the magnesium. Maybe. Molly said, "Never read Harlan Coben." Oh, yeah. Harlan Coben's awesome. So is Webb Griffin. If you like police mysteries or military mysteries, Webb Griffin is wonderful. All right. Come on. Give me some questions. Give it to me. Hit me hard. Give me the hardest question you can come up with. Let's see if I can come up with an answer for you. Or we might just have hit the natural end to our support group meeting. Let us see. I might even have to sing you a song. That would be embarrassing. But I sing all the time, just like my dad does. Denver or Overland Park, KC. All the meetings we've had, IC conferences in Minnesota, and a couple in New York, a couple in Washington, DC, one in San Diego. Was Peora for neuropathy? Yeah, the Peora would be found, I think of everything, the Peora would be really reasonable to try for neuropathy. And the cool thing about it, I mean, I think I went through at least 20 or 30 research studies about palmitoethanolamide, and there were very few side effects. Most of the studies showed no side effects. Only one study showed a little bit of gut distress out of the 20 or 30 studies that I looked at. And so I am finding personally, and I mean, I'll be honest, I do not like taking new stuff. I mean, I am the queen of side effects here. And so I always am very, very careful about what I try. And I'm always like, take one pill, see how I do. I am really happy with the Pure. I've had no problems with the Pure. I've had no problems with the Bladder Smart multivitamin. And because my bladder wall is healed now and fine, I don't need to do a bladder wall treatment like Bladder Builder or Bladder Rest or Cystoprotect. Joan says, do you recommend just one supplement? No, it depends on what you're dealing with, hon. If you've got bladder wall issues, you've got estrogen atrophy or anything like that, then the one we usually start with is Bladder Builder. If you're just dealing with pain, it would be Peora. Best place for a conference in Canada, Toronto. They've had a couple of conferences. International Continence Society's met in Toronto a couple of times. I've never been. I almost went to the University of Toronto for a PhD, actually. Is the pill prevent like D-mannose? It is. No, it's way better than D-mannose. It's the active ingredient, proanthocyanins. Is that how you call it? So Peora, it has, yeah, it's proantha. Okay, the light's kind of bad. Okay, so Prevent has chondroitin sulfate for the bladder wall, curcumin, quercetin, uh, dandelion, root extract, hyaluronic acid, vitamin A, vitamin C in the form of calcium ascorbate, D3, vitamin E, K2, B12, biotin. Yeah, it's a really, really robust formula. So I can't wait. I can't wait to get this. It's supposed to be sending it to me, but the coronavirus is affecting all sorts of things. Guys, in fact, let me check this real quick. We just checked all of our inventories, and I've got plenty of product. I just didn't have them in inventory correct. So let me look here real quick. Got lots of I got to come in and update. I have plenty of these supplements. I just don't have them all in inventory, and I need to update that this afternoon. Also, we're not able to ship some of the supplements to Amazon right now. Amazon is prioritizing other products for foods and things like that people are ordering right now for their home stay, the quarantine. Vicky says, is there any ideal time of day to take PEA? Let's look what it says. I mean, I take it before I go to bed. Suggested use. Take 2 capsules per day or it's directed by your doctor. Consume with a light meal that contains a small portion of a healthy fat derived from whole foods. Ask your medical care provider which healthy fat would be appropriate for you. And also, the product contains no wheat, gluten, soy, dairy, egg, fish, shellfish, or tree nuts. I actually I kind of violate that. I take mine, before I go to bed. I take my vitamin before I go to bed too. I take my thyroid before I go to bed. I never take it in the morning. I always take it before I go to bed. Stephanie says, my neuropathologist has me taking essential oil capsules daily that he has made for me after a stool test to kill bacteria. What is the maximum I should take? I've been taking them once a day. Well, what's the essential oil? Is it peppermint? Licorice root? I mean, the peppermint capsules are common for people who struggle with IBS and or gas, but you can't take peppermint if you've got GERD because you will end up belching hot peppermint and it will irritate the hell out of you. Licorice root or fennel is often suggested for people who have gas. And the company, this is the company. Heather's Tummy Fiber. This is a fabulous company for people who struggle with irritable bowel. This is their acacia fiber, which I use if I'm feeling like I'm starting to get a little constipated. But they have mint capsules. They've got fennel capsules. They've got travel packs for these. But this is really good for people who struggle with hard stool or you struggle with IBS. Whether you've got IBS diarrhea or IBS constipation, having a good fiber is important, and you use this fiber in both circumstances, and it works really, really well. So this is a example of a soluble fiber. It's not stimulatory. It's not going to trigger bowel spasms or trigger diarrhea. It's soothing and gentle. It's kind of like eating green peas. Whereas an insoluble fiber is a fiber that has very rough edges. It's like granola, or Metamucil is half insoluble fiber. I don't do well with Metamucil. My bowel is too sensitive because, hello, central sensitization. I've got to do things that are very calming and soothing. So Heather's Tummy Fiber, and her website is helpforibs.com. And we're friends. It's interesting. I've got two other peers. I've got Heather started Help for IBS, but she early on developed her own product line and just knocked it out of the park. Her product line's fantastic. Then my other peer and what I do is Kathy, who started Hister Sisters. And we all took slightly different pathways in starting our support groups. So Hister Sisters, as an example, invested in technology. And they did a lot of custom programming, massive, massive technology improvements that I couldn't afford. I instead went into doing the magazine and stuff like and live support group meetings. So it's very interesting the directions our companies have gone. Peppermint, lemongrass. Well, I don't see any problems with those. I mean, I think ultimately it just depends on how you're feeling. I mean, peppermint is considered fairly benign. Lemongrass, I'm not as familiar with lemongrass. I would ask your neuropathologist about that, and I think maybe I would dive a little bit into research. Um, but that's it's nothing alarming in that to me. I mean, it's not like he got you doing something wacky. Hello, Trisha. Nice to see you. Um, Lauren says, how long did it take for your bladder wall to heal? I'm going to say 5 years. It improved gradually over time. Now, again, remember, my case was very different in the sense that, yes, I'm a redhead with sensitive skin. This would explain why all my nerves got whacked out when my bladder got hurt. But I absolutely sustained a very severe bladder wall injury. I had a chemical burn internally. And then I made it that much worse because I poured acid on it every day for a year. And so I went from moderate symptoms to, oh my God, I can't walk symptoms, just acid on the wound over and over and over again. I mean, if you had a wound on your hand, would you pour acid on it? No, I did for a freaking year every day, and I drank acid all day long because that's what we knew 25 years ago. Everybody said if you had bladder problems, you drink cranberry juice. I should have stock in ocean spray for the amount of cranberry juice I drank. And at the end of that year, I was at the emergency room every day begging for relief, begging. And then finally, the concept of a burn and an injury resonated in my freaking brain. And I was when I talked to a support group leader for the first time in the summer of 1993. I started my support group in September. I think I talked to her in June, and she told me about cranberry juice being bad. And I was like, "What? I drink cranberry juice every day." She goes, "Jill, it's going to only make it worse." I'm like, "Oh my God." I had no freaking clue. Everybody said cranberry juice was good for your bladder. Guess what? Cranberry juice is devastating to a wound in your bladder. And so, I was, you know, I- about as low as you can go, where I had to decide if I was going to live or not. I mean, it was that bad. And luckily, I was referred to Marshall Stoller at UC San Francisco that summer, and I got to be part of the urgent PC clinical trial, that post-tibial nerve stimulation, and that was the thing that showed me that I could get better because, so I did the ankle stimulation, the ankle nerve stimulation, started it on my birthday, July 12th, and, let's see if I can. So here's my tattoo. I don't know if you can see that little tiny black spot right there. That's where they stuck the needles in, and I have the same tattoo on my left leg too. Oh yeah, actually it's much more visible on my left leg. Let me see if I can show it to you. So this, see that see that black spot right there? Okay, that's where they put the needles in for my ankle stimulation. And at by after my fourth treatment, I had my first 2 hours without pain. After my seventh treatment, I had my first day without pain. And it was the process, that was the first thing that gave me hope that my pain. Joan says, "Don't fall out of your chair." I know I won't. It's possible. But that was the first sign to me that I didn't have to live with pain. And so doing that neuromodulation to just calm my freaking nerves down, along with modifying my diet, is how things turned around. But it was a long journey because I had done a lot of damage. So they taught me how to do the neuromodulation at home. I did it at home for about a year. Um, but if you think about it, think about that severe bladder wall injury and all that pain I was in, right? And so my pelvic floor would just lock down. It would locked down super, super tight. And we weren't doing pelvic floor physical therapy back then. In fact, that was around the time, about 5 years after that, that we had Rhonda Cotterinos come to our first IC national meeting and talk about the pelvic floor. So my pelvic floor was locked down like it'd never been locked down before. So sitting in a car was just almost impossible. I could do my dad's Crown Victoria. I had a little pickup that I gave to my nephew because I just couldn't go anywhere. And my mom had a Dodge Dynasty that just it had this little shimmy to it like this. Whenever you drove it, it was like, oh, killed my pelvic floor. So I would say it took about 5 years for everything to calm down, along with some visceral atarax for um, just calming my anxiety along with calming my bladder down a little bit more. But I have been pain-free most of the time now for like the last 10 to 15 years. So that first doctor who said I would live with terrible pain for the rest of my life, well, he can shove it up his ass. That wasn't true at all. And I proved him wrong. Joan says, neuromodulation, can you explain that a little bit more? That maybe that could get me to turn the corner. So again, when we talk about pain, we have to remember that pain of IC can originate from 3 different structures. Pain can originate from the bladder wall, a damaged bladder wall. Pain can originate from muscles that are super tight, and or muscles that, have been injured in some way. And pain also can originate from nerves. And the best so with the bladder, let's see, how do I want to say this? In the old days, before we understood the role of the muscles and how the muscles can trigger frequency urgency, the assumption was that maybe the nerves of the bladder were dysfunctional, and we know that that's possible. There's something called neuropathic bladder, where the nerves of the bladder are basically non-functional, and that patient is incontinent and they can't feel anything, and there's no normal urge. So there was, again, going back 25, 30 years, there was an assumption that for some ICers or overactive bladder patients or prostatitis patients, that nerve dysfunction, the alpha afferent nerves of the bladder wall were part of the problem. And so what they thought was maybe they were overreactive, or maybe they were underreactive. Um, and so they thought that by generating or administering little electric shocks to try to normalize that nerve function was a viable way of perhaps trying to correct that nerve, right? If that nerve is a fundamental problem. And so InterStim was developed at UC San Francisco, and so was the ankle stimulation. Post-tibial nerve stimulation was also developed at UC San Francisco. It was never perfect. It certainly didn't fix everyone, but there was a strong subset of patients that it helped. And there's no doubt in my mind that neuromodulation broke me out of that 24-hour agonizing pain flare that I was in. That re-regulating that nerve with a mild electronic impulse basically forced the nerve to calm down. Now, if you look at the protocols for neuromodulation, you see neuromodulation really discussed for people who have pudendal neuralgia, people who have, nerves that are kind of stuck in the on position. Dr. Weiss talks about that in his book. That the scenario now with neuromodulation is not just focusing on the alpha afferent nerves of the bladder wall, but basically the nerves of the pelvis in general. And so neuromodulation is a step 4 treatment option in the AU8 guidelines. There are 3 forms of it. You've got sacral neuromodulation, pudendal neuromodulation, and posttibial neuromodulation. Sacral neuromodulation or pudendal neuromodulation are known as InterStim. They require surgery, and they implant an electrode in your sacral area, and then they implant a generator in your butt cheek or around your hip. The goal of which is and they do a trial first. They have you monitor your frequency urgency, and we want to see point blank if your symptoms change. You do not lie. Oh my God, do not ever lie for a trial. If it's not working, it's not working, be done with it. But if they find that your frequency urgency improves and or your pain improves, then that would justify doing a permanent implant. The challenge with InterStim is it requires multiple surgeries. It's remarkably expensive, but most importantly, has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and many more hundred adverse event reports filed with the FDA, including fatalities. It is a big time surgery with big time complications, a lot of deep tissue MRSA infections. And I can show you where to read those. We can go through those online. It is the ankle stimulation, which most patients start with. Equal success in research studies, it requires no surgery. It is an acupuncture needle as a vector to the nerve attached to basically the equivalent of a fancy TENS unit. Now, in both cases, technology has changed. So with InterStim now, there's a new device. They're creating new generators that can be charged through the skin, so you wouldn't have to have surgeries to replace batteries for a longer period of time. And with the ankle stim, they've now developed a new little uh, implant that can go right at that point above your ankle, and it's like an inch long and it's really narrow, so you wouldn't have to use a TENS unit. But there's just the side effect comparison alone, as well as the cost comparison, it's a slam dunk. If you're going to try neuromodulation, start with the ankle stim first. They're both approved by Medicare, Medicaid. They have equivalent research data in terms of effectiveness. So let's go for the one that doesn't require surgery or hasn't resulted in the death of patients like InterStim has. Joan said, I've had that, no control, no signal. Joan, you got to explain that a little bit more. I don't quite understand what you're saying there. It is raining outside. I can hear the water, the downspouts right outside my window here. Stephanie, juniper oil, clove, lemongrass, oregano, melaleuca. Ooh, I don't have any experience with the others, hon. I don't know. I mean, you would have to research every ingredient and look for long-term complications, long-term use. I don't know. I have no clue. Trisha's asking, how are our IC sisters and brothers doing? Man, we're holding together. We are in this together. Today is a good Sunday. We are home. We are safe. We are protected. Trisha, still in remission, going on 8 years. Love it. Molly drank cranberry juice every night for 3 years. Girl, there you go. Me too. Carol says, hello, Carol. Hey, nice to see you, hun. I swear, Carol, whenever we call, we miss each other. It's hysterical. Carol runs a support group here. How do you do a PTNS kit for home? It's helped me and is still helping. Noticed her on my second or third visit. You know, that's a difference between the guy who invented it, Dr. Marshall Stoller, versus the company now selling it, which it was God, they've changed hands so many times. Who even has it now? The company's changed their names so many times. Let me look. I think Cogentix Medical has urgent PC. I don't think that they're going to be inclined to want to teach you how to do it from home because that's less profit for them. I think that they benefit from patients coming into their doctor's office, using it at the doctor's and using their equipment. In contrast, you might be able to go to an acupuncturist who might be able to do it for you. You know, might be able to do it with more flexibility. Dr. Stoller, when he invented it, his original intention was he wanted to help patients be independent. So we did 10 or 11 treatments at his office, and then he gave us the tattoos, he gave us a generator, he gave us the needles, and then we did it at home. And it was really, really easy to do at home. The only thing is that your skin got a little sensitive. The skin over both sides, because we put the needles on both legs, put the stimulator the TENS unit on one or the other, see which one had the best toe flex, and then we would do that one. There's also some concern, and this is true, that for people who do it at home, sometimes you hurt yourself. I mean, the one thing that Dr. Stoller always said to us is if it hurts, you're doing it wrong and it's way too intense. It should never hurt. If doing post-tibial nerve stimulation hurts, you got to turn it down. And so I had an IC patient up in Montana who was a nurse who was learning how to do it at home. And I specifically told her, and her doctor told her, do not turn it up until it hurts. And what'd she do? She turned it up really high, thinking more was better, even though we specifically told her it would be damaging because that would damage the nerves. And she did it anyway, and she damaged her nerves badly. So, that might be one reason why they might not want you to do it at home. Vicky says, can I learn to work on my pelvic muscles on my own? Yes, absolutely. But you have to go to a physical therapist at least once so that they can at least tell you which muscle is the problem. You'll never figure out the exact muscle yourself. You got to have somebody's hands on your body and preferably inside your body, touching muscle to try to figure out which one is going to work for you. Which muscle is the issue, and then they're the ones who should be giving you guidance on what's the best therapy for that specific muscle group. So I learned that it was my piriformis muscle. So what I then did is, in addition to what she gave me, I went onto YouTube where there are a ton of physical therapists, and I searched for how to rehabilitate a tight piriformis. But you can't just go to YouTube and say, help me with my pelvic floor, because they don't know your anatomy, and you don't know your anatomy either. Ideally, if you could just get to a physical therapist at least once, that will give you a clue, Vicky. It would. Trisha says, I have Hunter's ulcers. I couldn't have healed without neuromodulation. Awesome. I was given an external IFC unit and it worked wonders for me. However, I had the best results with pelvic floor, cranial sacral, physical therapy combined. I agree. Surgery is a last resort. Surgery and anesthesia are very difficult on IC and can trigger flare. That's how I've been. Trisha, girl, I would love to tell your story. If you would be willing to write up your story and the things that you did, I would love to tell it. You could email it to me. I think our next issue of our magazine is going to be devoted to patient stories. I'd love to do patient success stories. Tricia says, glad to hear the IC community is doing well, being homebound, hopefully will be helpful. I think that being at home, not being stressed with our regular, granted, we're all stressed. It's just a different stress now. But being able to be at home and in control of your situation, I think is really good. Angie, my physical therapy accidentally turned your TENS unit up too much. Your whole foot jumped off the table. Yep, it happens. Got to go slow. As long as she turned it right back down, you're fine. Incontinence. So Joan, would neuromodulation help incontinence? InterStim is specifically approved for incontinence, urinary and fecal incontinence. And that's where it can be absolutely life-changing. And so InterStim or neuromodulation in general would absolutely be a very, very viable treatment for you if you're struggling with absolutely no control from your bladder or your bowel. It's been life-changing for people with total incontinence. You just got to be informed, and you can't necessarily believe what your doctor's saying. It's important to talk to other patients who have gone through it too, so that you really understand, what to expect, how it's going to change your life, good or bad. So if your doctor's pushing it, fine, you're going to get the basic videos from the company. Those are fine, but they tend to be skewed and biased towards positive results. You got to have your eyes open. So if they do, decide that they want to do InterStim, we have our support forum, which has, we have 4 boards for neuromodulation, considering it, trying it, success stories, and failures. And you got to look at those failures. The failures are important. Who is it? Again, last week, I think or maybe a couple of weeks ago, I had a patient who had InterStim and it had stopped working and it was shocking her. And she didn't know what to do. And the answer is you get that sucker out of your body. You got to get back to your doctor right away and need to figure this out. Having a permanent implant is, especially by your sacrum, is challenging because the longer the leads are in there, the more scar tissue builds around them, and they can be very hard to remove. And as long as you have metal in your body, you won't be able to have an MRI. And so, if a device isn't working early on, get it out, move on to something else, like the ankle stim. That's why you want to do ankle stim first. Grace says, my primary referred me to pelvic floor PT, and like other health providers, they aren't scheduling until May, and that can change. Any advice until then? Yeah. Grace, seriously, you need to get this book. If you read this book before you go to physical therapy, you are going to be kick-ass good at physical therapy because you're going to understand the anatomy. This is a master class at anatomy. Many, many patient success stories in this book. This is the most amazing book for anybody with pelvic floor muscle issues. So it's called Breaking Through Chronic Pelvic Pain by Dr. Jerome Weiss. It's free on Kindle Unlimited, $9.99 on Kindle, $29 if you buy it from us in paper. This is so good. I bought like 30 copies, full price on Amazon, $36, and sent it to everybody I knew that I thought would benefit from it. And now, because I'm working with the company, with the authors, I'm able to get it for less. And I've been ordering 100 books at a time now for our store. And hopefully we'll be able to get the cost down even more. That's always my goal because I'm a patient too and money matters. Got to be affordable. All right. Angie says, you always want to make sure you don't do the internal wand too much. It can make things worse. Yeah, man, if you don't know what you're doing, you don't just shove it in there and push around. It's going to hurt. And my physical therapist, I'm going to say last summer, that's what she wanted me to do. She wanted me to kind of go deeper and be a little bit more aggressive. And it really flared me. I had to go back to not doing that, because I've got scar tissue from that hysterectomy. Hi, Karen. Lisa says, my InterStim makes my foot twitch or flop at medium levels. Right. Yeah. And that's what they look for, whether they're doing ankle stim or InterStim. The way they know they have it in the right position is by normally it would flex your big toe down, or it would splay your other toes outwards. And so that shows that they're on the right nerve. It might not be finessed, but the fact that it makes your foot twitch shows that they're working on that nerve. But Lisa, what you got to really be on top of is if that just starts happening randomly, then something bad's happening. It should not be making your foot twitch or your foot move in a weird way. It should not be interfering with your ability to walk or plant your foot down. If it is, then there's something wrong. It's too high or whatever. So you got to be really careful about that. Okay. Lauren says, could my gynecologist have missed estrogen atrophy? I go to her only for my yearly PAP. Sure. Well, and if you don't bring it up either, they might not even look at it. But generally, estrogen atrophy is very, very visible. Here, let me just close some windows on my computer. Um, uh, uh, aside from the dryness and the discomfort from the dryness, vaginally, it appears the skin gets quite thin, and you can actually kind of see stripes in the skin. And so, if you have burning as you're urinating, as urine is coming out of your urethra and crossing your vulva, if your urine feels hot, that is estrogen atrophy. The urethra is kind of the canary in the coal mine when it comes to your urinary tract and the loss of estrogen. So if you feel like there's a drop of urine in your urethra that's not coming out, that also is a sign of estrogen atrophy. All right, last call for questions. Last call for questions. Any other questions on IC? Anything? We've been going at this for about 3 hours. My longest one since I had my tooth removed. I had 4 holes drilled in my jaw. Hey, yeah, I have no shame. I'll show you. I'll show you just about anything. Finally, last week stopped hurting. It's crazy. Having an abscess root canal sucks. Got to do my dry mouth gum. Moisture. All right, my friends. Excuse me. That just helped me get a little bit of moisture in my mouth. So I'm going to give you your homework. 15 minutes a day. I need you to do something for your bladder, your pelvic floor. For me, that was last night doing my internal massage. For 15 minutes a day, I need you to do something for your spirit and your soul. Something that gives you comfort, whatever that would be. Sitting in front of your fire, reading your favorite book for the 50th time, listening to your favorite music, whatever. Give yourself something that will give you some comfort. For 15 minutes a day, I need you to do something for your noggin, for your brain, improve your intelligence. Read a section on our website, our blog, our magazine, the book, Breaking Through Chronic Pelvic Pain. And of course, for 15 minutes a day, I need you to do something that will make you laugh. And I gotta say, TikTok is killing it for laughter. I mean, there are sad stories in there too. I just fly through there. The problem with TikTok is that after about 30 minutes, it feels like it's sucking your energy. It's so it kind of makes my skin crawl. It's like I don't want to keep watching something over and over and over again. I'd rather get up and walk around. Ann says, what's a hormonal cream that you said you use? Well, most patients who are struggling with dryness down there are going to be using an estradiol cream. Estradiol cream. And so I use a compounded, preservative-free estradiol cream from the Women's International Pharmacy. They do not pay me. I have no relationship with them at all. It was my gynecologist who said, Jill, you're so freaking sensitive. I already know anything I can prescribe for you that's brand name is going to hurt. So I need you to use the preservative-free formula from the Women's International Pharmacy, which I've been doing now for about 8 or 9 years, and I love that stuff. Love the company, super easy to work with, delivery on time, no complaints at all. No complaints, no side effects. Loving the Women's International Pharmacy. They specialize in creating hormone products for people who are a bit more sensitive, and they will work with you. If you react to the cream, they can put it in an oil. I mean, they're very, very flexible. Sherry says, what do they do next on your teeth or jaw about the holes are healing now. The bone is healing. We just and with the coronavirus, we're not gonna be able to do anything probably for a year, so that's fine. I don't know if I'll get in. They wanted to do a bone graft in there, but I was in so much pain from the abscess, I could barely think, and I felt like the oral surgeon was doing an upsell, and it just didn't quite feel right to me. And I was so irritated. My tongue was everything was so irritated because I think the root canal was leaking chemicals or something. And I think it'd been going on honestly, I think it had been building for months because when he finally pulled the tooth out, it was a wreck. and there was decay everywhere, and then the root canal stuff and the chemicals from the root canal. So, anyway, I didn't do the bone graft, so they'll probably and the hole is, on the side, you can see, I mean, it's slowly filling in, but we'll probably have to do a bone graft and then wait 6 months and then maybe do an implant again. I've never had an implant before. I've just read a lot of reactions about implants, so they kind of scare me. But you know what's cool is that my tongue isn't irritated anymore. My tongue had been so bad for like 2 months. I couldn't understand why it was so painful. And now that this tooth is gone and all the chemicals from that are gone, things have turned around. Lisa says, I use RD Estratest topical cream. I just started, so I don't know if it's working yet. Never heard of that. Interesting. Oh, use RX. Estratest. Looks like your spell checker. Sherry says, praying for, yeah. Well, I mean, I feel better. I feel better. Not swollen anymore, and it's not hurting. I mean, it only hurts if something gets jammed down in there like an ice cube or if I bite wrong. I just don't want to break anything else. I mean, I don't want to go to the dentist, so I'm being really careful about what I'm eating, and I'm not chewing hard things right now. Joan says, yeah, 6 to 12 months for healing for a dental implant. Oh, before they can do a dental implant, right? You got to wait 6 to 12 months for everything to calm down. Yeah. Life, right? So freaking unpredictable. Hey Joan, thanks for clarifying. I mean, I was really surprised. He told me, number one, I'm damn proud that I drove myself to the oral surgeon. I was looking for somebody to take me and nobody could take me. And it's like, and I was hurting so badly because it blew up on Saturday. Oh, thank you, Joan. So it blew up on Saturday. On Sunday, I'm crying on the phone to my dentist, looking for an emergency dentist to take it out on Sunday. I couldn't find one. And so Monday morning, I just woke up at like 8 and I just started calling 2 of them. The one that I normally saw wasn't answering the phone, but the second one that my parents had gone to answered the phone right away, and they got me in within 30 minutes. And so I just got in the car and went on down there. And so as he's doing it, and he's the roots were deeply embedded into my jawbone, and which is common in our family. Um, and after he was done, he said, "This is going to really hurt for a while." And so he gave me 15 Norco instead of 5 Norco, and I used every single one of them. I cut them in half the first day and then quarters the day after. But the soft tissue sensitivities really surprised me. The tissue filling in the hole is really, really sensitive even now, and it's been 3 weeks. Um, so any insight you have to share with me, I'd appreciate it. I really would. Every root was infected. Every single. This was a tooth that I cracked it in grad school, and they did an emergency root canal. They did an emergency root canal on a Saturday afternoon with the on-call doctor or dentist. And what I couldn't understand, Joan, you get a kick out of this, is he kept leaving every 15 minutes and walking into his office for 5 or 10 minutes. No, I did not have dry socket, thank God. But the guy who did the original root canal, he kept leaving every 15 minutes, and then he would come back, and he'd be gone for 5 or 10 minutes, and he'd come back. I had to leave and then come back. It took him 8 hours or 7 hours to do the damn root canal. And the very next day, he was arrested for dealing cocaine out of his dental office. So you know where he was going when he was doing my freaking root canal? He was snorting coke. And I was furious. He was arrested, prosecuted, went to jail, and then eventually got his dental license back and went to work, 3 hours away. And so the tooth was never right. I mean, it lasted for 35 years, but it was crooked. The crown was the first crown was crooked. It always got food stuck underneath it. Then I had to floss every time I ate. And then my new dentist tried to fix it and took the crown off and did another crown. And he goes, Jill, this is hanging on by a thread. This tooth is completely unsavable. And when it goes, it's going to go and it's going to go big and the tooth is coming out. Do not try to save anything. And so that's it too. So can you imagine having a root canal by a dentist doing coke? And he was doing a lot of coke. Like literally every 15 minutes he was running to his office. And I was what, 25 at the time? And I knew something was wrong, but it wouldn't have dawned on me that he was doing cocaine and that he'd be arrested. The next day, I was literally his last patient. There's always a part of me that wants to see him because I remember his name. I won't say who he was, but if I ever saw him again, it's like I would say, "Do you have any clue what you did to me?" And I would expect an apology. Yeah. I have another root canal where the root tips are cracked. I saw that on the X-ray, but it's fine so far. But the roots are actually cracked in two on this side somewhere. Yeah. My childhood dentist, Dr. Berger, back in the 60s, he hollowed out all of our teeth. Even if we had a tiny, tiny cavity, he hollowed out the entire tooth and put mercury amalgam filling in it. And so for my siblings and the entire generation in my town, our teeth were destroyed by this dentist. And so by the time we were in our 30s, the teeth all cracked. And so now I have crowns. Every molar is crowned. I have like 7 root canals and 7 crowns, just try to save those. And then I've already lost the 2 teeth, the last 2 molars here, other than my wisdom teeth, and those were also embedded. So I'm hanging on. I'm hanging on, my dear. It's crazy. Write him a letter. You know what? Let me Google him. I don't even know if he's still practicing. I mean, he was older than me. He's probably retired. Oh my god. Oh no, 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 that's not him. I think he's retired. There's another dentist with his name in Mississippi. Could he move from California to Mississippi? No, that doctor. Oh yeah, no, that's not him. Definitely not him. Hold on, I can look one other place. I should have filed a complaint against him. Damn it, why didn't I do that? I wonder if I can. Hmm. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. Luckily, dental services are considered necessary despite the coronavirus. That was why I had it done so quickly. I didn't want to wait around. Joan says that was the standard of care in the 1960s. Very unfortunate. Yeah, I know because like my nephews have perfect teeth. The next generation, once you got the coating on the teeth, oh my God, none of them have had any cavities. Where I've had cavities all over the place. But now, seriously, a tip to everybody, please, for God's sake, get a water pick. My new dentist said, if you want to save your teeth, you need a water pick. I have not had a cavity in a decade now that I've been using a water pick. So, anyway, but I don't eat candy very often either. Okay, right. All right. So we just had more people come in on Facebook. Hello, everybody on Facebook. I can't see who you are. So this is our regular support group. Well, it's not a regular, but I've been doing support group meetings pretty much every Sunday and one during the week. I did one last Tuesday. Happy to take any questions that you have. The biggest question people have is, does IC make you more at risk for coronavirus? And the answer is no, it does not. Only if you're immune compromised or taking cyclosporin, that's when you might have a little bit more risk. So you can be careful of that. I mean, you can ease that fear. Hello from Brussels. Nice to see you. Okay, I have no idea who you guys are. Yeah, no, not going to show you my teeth. Nope. Yeah. All right. You know what, guys? I think that, hey, guys, this is a real support group meeting. These are for people in genuine pain. They're struggling. They have injuries, they have trauma, they're peeing blood, they've got all sorts of things going on. This is not the place for you to come in and joke around, okay? There are people here who are suffering and they need comfort, they need support. They don't need you dicking around in our support group meeting. So I'm going to very respectfully ask you to leave. Hold on, guys. I mean, let's show a little respect for people who are suffering, right? Give me a moment here, guys. I gotta do a couple of things here. We have been invaded by Eastern Europeans. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Idiotas. I do believe that they are taken care of now. Oh, the joys of the internet, right? This is when you have paid moderators, which I do not have, who would be doing all this that I'm doing right now. It's an internet, it's a Facebook gang. That's what it is. All right. I do believe, oh God, here's another one. Oh, you're Greek. Very cool. But still not the right place for you guys. Sorry. All right. That's a first. I've never been invaded oh, all right. Hey, you know what, guys? I'm going to shut down the Facebook feed. We're done anyway. I will see you guys later. Have a good one. Peace to you all. I'll be back. I'll be back this week. See you. All right, YouTube. Holy hell, we got invaded by Greeks over on Facebook. So anyway, luckily that was at the end of the stream and I don't have to worry about them anymore. Lauren, are you still here? Hi, let's see here. All right, guys. Bye, Joan. See you later. You recommend the Sonicare electric toothbrush. Awesome. I'm always worried that I'm going to push because my gums are receding slightly because I'm getting older. All right, girl, we got to talk about books. We got to talk about books. All right, what are your favorite books? So my favorites, okay, in order of favorite is um uh I love J.R. Ward. Love with passion. And I like her other books too. Not as much as I like the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and I like that New Orleans good. I know, right? Man, when you're readers, you're readers. So I love J.R. Ward. I love Jennifer Ashley. I love her Shifters Unlimited books. I like um here, hold on. Karen Marie yeah. I used to like Christine Feehan. I don't like her as much anymore. Um oh my God. Yeah, I own have you read any Gail Carriger? Gail Carriger? GL Carriger? She's got the steampunk um Queen Victoria werewolf books. Oh yeah, I love Kim Harrison. I love Kim Harrison. But if you've never read G Gail Carriger, you got to check Gail Carriger. And I really, really like. So she's got her steampunk series, which is uh, um, oh, oh, so the steampunk ones are really good. But then she also has a new series, The Sumage Solution, which is also, but it's really, really sexy, but she's a good writer. So she's got like the book How to Marry a Werewolf, hysterical. Um, uh, yeah, there's an old writer, Dara Joy. She doesn't write anymore. She has one book called Night of a Trillion Stars that I thought was really, really good. But Gail Carriger is just wonderful. Her steampunk series is great. Who else? Oh, Anne McCaffrey. Any of the old Anne McCaffrey books, I've read them all bunches of times. When I'm really stressed. Yeah, Dara Joy. They're pretty sexy books, but they're she was a good writer. She got in a big yeah, love Patricia Briggs. Totally love Patricia Briggs. Um, who else here? I've got all the Garrick. Oh, Danica Dark. Oh my God, Danica Dark.
You just heard J. Daniel Sawyer
Oh
as
look,
the narrator,
I accidentally
H.
did
Wilson as Alec, Nathan Lowell as Marvin.
Oh, hold on. Oh, Danica Dark. Danica Dark has an amazing series of 7 books that are also kind of shifter books. Let me write it in. Oh, there you go, a Guy Gabriel Kay. See, again, you have to understand you will love Danica Dark, but you do the series 7 years. The first book is 7 years, book 1, and it follows the same family over. And so that's 7 years, and the next one's 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, and it's a group of brothers. And then at the 1 year is the end for that. And so Danica Dark is awesome. Um, let's see. Did you ever read Lynn Kurland? Lynn Kurland's straight fantasy romance, time travel books. I liked Lynn Kurland. Oh, and Janet Chapman What about Janet Chapman? Did you ever read her? Those are not shifter books or anything like that. They're more just kind of time travel, Scottish Highlander books coming to modern times. So I love the Janet Chapman books. Those are great. I have a lot of those on books on tape. I listen to books on tape because my ears ring at night. So I always have a book playing so I don't hear my ears. That was a side effect from taking one Bactrim. Oh, what about Mercedes Lackey? You ever read? Oh, you got to try the Janet Chapmans are great escape novels. You just need to escape. The Janet Chapmans are wonderful. What about Mercedes Lackey? Do you read fantasy at all? Oh, so Mercedes Lackey has but it's fantasy and it's like it's slightly stronger fantasy, but it's not quite science fiction. But the Valdemar series is wonderful, wonderful. Valdemar with companions. So in Valdemar is a kingdom, and in the kingdom there are white horses called companions that are completely sentient and they're equal partners with the humans, and only selected humans are selected to be their partner slash rider. And so it's about the companions and their riders saving, going on all these adventures. And it's also about the companions looking for their rider. And so there's this whole historical lore that all the children that are raised there are are everybody when a companion goes by, whether it's a companion and its rider, or more excitedly, if it's just a companion by itself, they know that that companion is looking for their rider, and they're often children. And then the companion brings the rider back to Valdemar to go into training. And so one of the great novels in it is oh, what's his name? It's now Mags. Mags. So Mags was lost his parents, and he was basically a slave laborer in this camp, and they had. And so he was like literally sneaking out to find food, just this emaciated little waif of a young boy. And I and he, if I remember correctly, was taught to fear companions or something like that. And he had snuck out for food, and his companion found him. And he has now spawned this whole series of books on his own because he's not an educated young boy, but he's brought to the education capital. He's a very scrappy young kid who's had to survive. And Mags becomes this great character. He and his companion. You would love those books, the Valdemar series. What about God? What was her name? She passed away. There was another really, really good fantasy writer. Her name starts with an M. What was it? Shoot, shoot, shoot. She was kind of in the same generation as McCaffrey, as Anne McCaffrey. Who else do I have here? Oh, TJ Klune. TJ Klune is a new series. Annie Nicholas is a new series, but Annie Nicholas with dragons. I love anything with dragons. But that's shifters and dragons and stuff like that. See, guys, for those of you watching, how do I keep my sanity? I mean, like, seriously, I've worked with patients all day, every day for over 20 years, and it really can take a toll. You got to have really good defenses here. And one of my defenses, my biggest defense is I completely separate from all things health and medicine after work, and I read these books. Any book. I mean, I read a book a day pretty much. Devin Monk's Allie Backstrom series. Ooh, never heard of that one. Yeah, I've done Lair Adrian. What about okay, I gotta find him. Have so many books. Have you read any of the Emily March Eternity Springs? They're really sweet, happy stories. Very sweet, happy stories. Or what about Susan Mallory? Have you ever read any of the Susan Mallory Fool's Gold books? Those are good. Oh, Lindsay Sands? How about Lindsay Sands? Oh, good, good, good. Well, those are all some of, I mean, the Carragher books, they're very, very entertaining. The J.R. Ward books are really gritty, but seriously, you fall in love with the brothers, right? The Brotherhood, the Black Dagger Brotherhood. Every single one of those leading characters are so compelling. And Zeta's story, oh my God, heartbreaking. Here you've got literally, I know. Oh, we will. We will. We need to have a book club. We have a kind of a book club over on the forum, but the forum people aren't really coming to forum so much anymore, and that's okay. We'll have to do it again. You know what? We'll have to do it again. And maybe, now that things are calming down, I might be able to go over to Zoom and have multiple faces on the screen. The brothers are the best. I know, right? And oh my God, when that main brother died, oh my God. When the bomb exploded his car outside the club. Oh, heartbreaking, heartbreaking. What did you think of Butch and Marissa's story? I thought Butch and Marissa's story was really interesting that she was supposed to be okay. I'm totally zoning on the king's name, which is ridiculous. Come on, I know the king's name. Why am I zoning on his name? I'm remembering all the other brothers but the king's name. I'm an idiot. Come on, I just finished the book last night. Anyway, the fact that Marissa was supposed to be his mate, but he was so messed up, and then she was messed up and outcast. I mean, the whole societal, the discussion of the societal issues and the treatment of women versus men and the rich versus the poor. Man, she just nails. Yeah, thank you, Wrath. Oh my God, you gotta love Wrath. Yeah, I mean, as a character, the character development to build his story, watching his parents killed, and then not wanting to be the king, but being forced to realize that they needed leadership to save the race, right? To save their people and to save the humans. And then when the baby was born, JW, oh my God, when he finally had his child, that short story. I know, The Chosen are awesome. They're awesome. Their stories are so good. Oh, but you are not going to believe literally the last two chapters of The Sinner, of the book that just came out. You are not going to believe. You're you're not gonna believe all I'm gonna say is the cat, okay? The cat, and then the new Dark Side, and Lassiter is just the new series of book because the Lessers will be gone now. I know, right? Yeah. I mean, I just think she's a brilliant writer. I mean, how her brain goes where she goes, it's amazing. But as a writer and her ability to create characters that you fall in love with, I mean, you just fall in love with her characters, even if they're dark, gritty characters. Like the one, yeah, yeah. Okay, so like and I don't want to say anything else. I'm gonna give it. I don't want to give it away, but the story was it the last one or two ago. Oh yeah, Lassiter is. So Lassiter, if anybody watching, is a fallen angel who is trying to do right so he can go back up to heaven. And so he's got to take care of these guys and their families. But he is hysterically funny and he pushes buttons and they cannot mess with him because he basically has, superpowers and but they do too, but still he's got terrible taste and watches terrible TV. I haven't been following her too much on social media. Is she Oh, did you ever read, what about Laurel K. Hamilton? Did you ever read the Anita Blake mysteries or the, Meredith? I like the Meredith books from Laurel K. Hamilton. So she was the Anita Blake series is the Vampire Hunter series, but they're almost X-rated. I mean, she, like, goes way over the top with sex scenes. Hello, whoever just came in. This is still the IC meeting, but now we're talking our favorite books. Oh, does she really? Oh, I gotta find those. I really totally have to find those. I used to like the Laurel K. Hamilton books, but they're just like what reading. They're just I don't know. I like the Mary Gentry series from Laurel K. Hamilton better because I like the guys, but it's a pretty sexy series. I think the Black Dagger Brotherhood is just the pinnacle. It's just the best of the best. I just never have fallen in love with so many characters, and yeah, I mean, she kinda lost her mojo, don't you think? Oh, Grace, what do you think? Don't you think Laurel K. Hamilton lost her mojo a bit? I'm gonna chew gum now. Yeah, she did. I think she lost a lot of us. Did you read any of her Mary Gentry series? You should try those. I mean, the Princess Mary Gentry? Yeah. I don't know. But I loved all those characters too. I loved Frost. I love Darkness. Um, but then she had the twins or the triplets, and they had all different fathers, and it was very odd. But I honestly, it didn't come close to Laurel K. Hamilton. I mean, to J.R. Ward. I think J.R. Ward is just the master of a craft. Yeah, it did, and it was very repetitive. And she constantly, it was angst filled. It's like in every book. Oh, hey, Grace, have you read any of the J.R. Wards? Because if you like the Mary Gentry books, you will love the J.R. Ward books. And they're so much better. The characters are so well defined and just motivating. They've got angst, but they don't live in the angst. And it's like you know, you're living inside their head. Yeah, she is. She's really on another level. But Grace, honestly, get the first book. You got because you got to start at the beginning with J.R. Ward. So you got to get Wrath's story first, because that builds the foundation for all of the books. Because I think it's Wrath's stories first, and then it's Hollywood second, and I think it's Zeta's book 3rd, and I think it's Butch's book 4th, and then Vicious's book 5th, I think. That's what it was. But you gotta start with Wrath because you fall in love with Wrath, and then he is a force in all of the books because the Brotherhood protects him as the king. I know. God, they really are. For such a dark series with dark names, like literally the legends and the history, and it's just but I really love, um, Jennifer's, Shifters Unlimited books too. I think she's pretty good with character development with those 2, especially Tiger. So in the Jennifer Ashley Shifters Unlimited books, the shifters have come forward so shifters are for people watching animals who become human but ultimately they're the animals. So there's tigers and bears and wolves and foxes and stuff like that. Now that humanity knows that there are shifters, they have put collars on them made by the Fae. And they have isolated them into old shifter compounds, like really rundown homes and communities where they are supposed to stay. And humans are afraid of the shifters. But the shifters, the reason why they accepted the collar is because they were dying out. And so the Shifters Unlimited book starts in the Austin, Texas shifter town. And they've got these vibrant, wonderful communities. But unfortunately, the shifters are being hunted. And so the parents are killed and the babies get sent by humans to arbitrary shifter towns. So, like, there's a polar bear cub called Olaf who watched his parents be killed. And Olaf is now living with at the bear home with another group of bears, but they're grizzly bears. And so anyway, Dylan and Liam are Dylan is anyway was the leader, and his son takes over. And um, but anyway, there's a great story of Tiger. So the humans, some really evil humans, basically captured shifters and experimented on them and tried to create a super soldier, and they all died but one, and his name was Tiger. And Tiger was in a cage for 35 years, even had a mate and a baby, and they took them away. And when Tiger finally gets out, he's a mystery, and his story is just breathtakingly good. And then there's another one called White Tiger, which is Kendrick. Kendrick's story is so good. I have read some Jana Showalter. Yeah, not quite as good. The Ilona, is it Ilona or Iona? Ilona Andrews, Kate Daniels series. It has shifters, magic, all the good stuff. Really? Okay, I gotta look at that. Hold on. Kate Daniels. The world has suffered a magical apocalypse. We pushed technology too far. Now magic has returned with a vengeance. It comes in waves without warning. It vanishes as suddenly as it appears. When magic is up, planes drop out of the sky. Cars stall, electricity dies. When magic's down, guns work and spells fail. It's a volatile, screwed up world. Magic feeds on technology, gnawing down on skyscrapers until most of them topple and fall, leaving only skeletal husks behind. Monsters prowl the ruined streets. Werebears and werehyenas stalk their prey. And the masters of the dead, necromancers driven by their thirst of knowledge and will pilot blood crazy. Holy wow, this looks good. So the first one is Magic Bites. Okay, I'm gonna order that right now. I would check that out. Ilona. Oh, what a great first line. I sat at a table in my shadowy kitchen, staring down a bottle of Boone's Farm hard lemonade. Oh, wow. Oh, this looks awesome. Okay, okay, okay. I'm gonna order it right now on Amazon. Oh, that was totally my type of book. Totally my type of book. Okay, I gotta make sure I'm on my right account. Hold on. I don't want to order it on my business account. I want to order it on my personal account. Okay, I'm on my personal account. Okay. So ordered. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh, that's cool. Husband and wife, huh? Here, hold on a sec. I always have to have wax in my mouth between these two teeth that have a sharp edge. So hold on. It just fell out. All right. I've got a sharp edge between my two lower teeth that I have to put wax on, otherwise it cuts my tongue. Okay, that's so cool. But I'm gonna buy the second one too, because I can already tell I'm gonna like it. Oh, so the question is the audible book. I love audibles. Oh, cool. Thank you. That is so fun. Okay. So now I've got a whole nother, I love these long book series. Love watching them. You got to check out Gail Carriger and Jennifer Ashley and see what you think. Okay. I think when it's time when you read the her new Gail Character's newer series, it's pretty risque, but it's quite again, you fall in love with the characters. I just like the characters. If characters are kind and compelling, I'm all over it. I don't care who they are, what they do. I just like the characters and the family relationships. Okay, I will read it. All right. Okay. Well, I think it's time to stop. Thank you so much for the book recommendation, you guys. Thank you, everybody on YouTube. I wish you well. Be safe, stay home, and we will meet again in a couple of days. All right. I'll see y'all later.